audio manager, Kayla Corwin. How do we sound?
You sound pretty good.
That sounds fantastic.
Do I sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
Do we sound better than we look?
Yes.
Oh, see, that's the goal.
idea, yeah. That's why podcast
Face for
so
radio.
famous.
So low bar. Well, Paul's cheating. He's got the mustache. He's hiding.
Yeah, that's why
That's
he's
why I
here.
wanted to hide behind this thing too.
Hiding behind the mask and the mustache and the hat.
Like, just Paul talking with that camera in front of him.
So I'm not a big one for formalities. So I think we've kind of already started, which is great.
Okay.
Paul's still taking notes. He's trying to get ready for the test. Except
Yep.
It's not a test. The test
Paul's
was before
cheating.
this.
He's been cheating.
He is cheating.
I just
He already he copied Mike's like, what do you got for 5? What do you got for number 5?
Seven.
What's even
See.
true anymore? So.
What's even true anymore? That's a good way to start, Paul. What's even true, says the guy with the cloak and dagger mustache.
Look at the Bertaranos on that dude.
I feel like let's get into it right away.
Get yourself nice and
Are we
comfy.
getting like an introduction going?
Yeah, let's
who
do
would
that.
be?
We'll start on that side with the
Yeah.
masked bandit.
Who am I? Paul Corwin. Are we doing a podcast? Fitness.
Yeah,
and
fitness nomads.
nomads and fire service in general. So I've been a paid professional firefighter for the last 8 years, and I still feel like I'm new at it until we get somebody new on the station, and then I'm like, all right, maybe I've been doing this for a little bit.
Maybe I know one thing more than he does.
Yeah, exactly. So that's me.
Nice.
Well, I'm Leo Rosa, also firefighter / fitness buff. Kind of been in the fitness industry for longer than I've been in the fire industry. One thing kind of led to the other. I started the fire service after being involved with the fitness service for about 10 years now, and started doing CrossFit, and through that I met a lot of the guys in the service from all branches, military, police, fire, and that light up also the fire in my butt to start this career path. And that's kind of what led me to the fire service about 6 years ago in the East Coast. I started out in Arlington County, Virginia, but just life events wanted to make me move to the Pacific Northwest. I started making the move towards coming here. Then I worked for Yakima for a little while in the state of Washington, and now I'm also a little bit north of Seattle. I moved to a bigger department north of Seattle. Been there for about 1 year now. Still a probationary firefighter right now, even though I've been in the service for a little while. It's a new department, so I'm on probation with them, but also kind of just doing that, fire service / fitness, and enjoying all the beauties of the Pacific Northwest, hiking and all that. And that's me.
I still feel like we need to change the term probationary employee to like new hire or something.
New
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, every time you introduce yourself or something as a probationary guy, like, oh, what'd you do? What were you in jail for? Like, do you have an ankle bracelet on?
You're in work purgatory. You have an ankle
who do we
brace
report
on.
to?
Yeah.
It's like, what? Where is your bracelet? I can't see it.
It's a chip.
It's a
Also, I should say, yeah, I feel like you guys are fitness professionals and coaches, and I'm more of a fitness enthusiast.
Well, that's an interesting way to put that, because as I've waxed on about with this lockdown, the fitness industry isn't professionalized.
Yep.
There's no professional licensing. There's no state licensing entities. I mean, the licensed massage therapist has to go through more licensure and work than anybody. I mean, anybody can hang a shingle outside and say, I own a gym. I'm open. I can fitness you. And that's a little bit interesting, you know, to talk about the fitness profession as an actual profession. You know, of course, my background, just like you guys, you know, geared towards civil service, where everything is structured, everything was licensed, everything was standardized, and you either meet the standard or you don't, and you're either working or you're not. And if you can't do those things, you're not a firefighter, or you're not a police officer, you're not an EMT. Fitness, you could be a complete fucking idiot,
Right.
and still own a really successful gym and train people, and I've always found that interesting, that it's total Wild West, but it's also, in my just personal opinion, not anything else, part of the reason why the gyms keep getting closed first and foremost with all the things that are going on right now, because there is no lobbying, because there's no professionalized service attached to it.
I agree, and it's very hard to be an advocate for the fitness industry as a essential business if it's such a like you said, like a Wild West service. Right, so it's very hard to be no, this is an essential business when a lot of it is kind of subjective to some extent, right? It's kind of hard to have that argument against OSHA, against, you know, the entities kind of putting all the regulations out there.
Right.
Right.
I mean, CrossFit, you know, because that's your OG background.
Yeah.
CrossFit did a freaking awesome job kind of breaking away from the. And I love Gold Gym. I had a Gold Gym membership
Right.
with my dad back in the day, but they kind of broke away from the bodybuilding mindset of where fitness was kind of for niche people that didn't really talk about it, or you did jazzercise or aerobics or whatever, kind of 80s and 90s stuff. And CrossFit made Olympic lifting popular. They made protocol-driven training popular.
Right.
They brought science to. Now, some might agree or disagree with it, but they did bring protocol-driven formats to fitness to try to professionalize and commercialize, obviously, because
Right.
they're in business to make
Yeah.
money and they're privately owned.
Right.
But for me, CrossFit gets kind of a bad name. People, and I'm not by any means a CrossFit participant, but I do like the fact that they made it a lot easier to talk about, snatch without
I mean,
it
they
being.
brought a lot of fitness up to light, right? The past, 12, 13, 14 years that CrossFit has been in the scene, that they came up and started creating a name for them. They just, obviously, there's the Kool-Aid that you drink, and there's
Right.
the addiction part of what you do, right? The quote-unquote community aspect of things. But what CrossFit did bring was a lot of fitness up to light.
Right.
It brought the fear of people working out, or like the fear of people, I don't want to go to the gym because of this, and that. Those excuses get thrown out the window. Get your ass in the gym, start working out, start moving. People motivate you. You get motivated. You want to come the next day. You want to bring your friend. And next thing you know, you just brought all those things up to speed with what we wanted to do as far as create a more community-based fitness program. And at the same time, you have the competitors, the guys that are,
Right.
the savages, and then you're going to bring the weightlifting back in the scene. You're going to bring the specialties into like track and field, once again, the weightlifters, the gymnasts, all those, the other aspects of fitness got incorporated into CrossFit. So everybody was able to have a slice of the pie, right? But at the same time, it's been 14 years. Everything that goes up comes down, right? At one point, people saw it for what it is, and they started kind of questioning it. And obviously, they didn't have an owner that helped a lot of the case.
No.
And things started going got a little rocky and shaky, and went downhill for a little while. But CrossFit definitely played a huge role in health, fitness, and where we are today with that whole aspect, especially for us, first responders. CrossFit plays a huge role for us.
Right. I mean, that's, Paul, we've talked about that too, even with your fitness initiatives, starting down where you were originally and then bringing it up here, and just kind of how the at least, while it's not universal yet, some of the slow adopters are aging out of the profession, and most of the professions in general, most of the firefighters you see now are younger and fitter. Most of the police officers you see, younger, fitter. Most of the EMTs, your nurses, they're younger and fitter because it's part of the lexicon of what they grew up with. I mean, all of us that are getting into 30s and 40s that are now in management positions are starting to make policy to drive towards that. I don't know too many guys in your guys' field or on the other side of the street with the PD or the EMTs that are not functionally fit. You might not be like super jacked, in the 8-pack, but you're able to. I mean, you guys can hustle up a tree and get a cat like
you're
nobody's
an
business.
asset. You become an asset. The fitness makes you become an asset to your crew, your department, to whatever capacity. Right. The lack of fitness, you become a liability. And I'm a firm believer that you lose the ability of being unfit the moment you sign that dotted line.
Well, and that's interesting bringing that up, is that maybe there's been a transition to a holistic, career-long approach to it. But it used to be, to get hired, you had to go through a physical agility.
Right.
That was
Right, kinda like boot
generally
camp.
pretty
Yeah.
brutal
Yeah.
and excluded most females from the profession just by the nature of what you had to do. And then you passed that, and then you were good.
Yeah.
You passed that, you finished your probationary year.
Then there's no
Then you-
standards after
yeah.
that.
No, nothing
met.
after that.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like there's more of a push for.
An accountability every year to stay somewhat consistent with it. Yeah.
Well, and part of that too, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the fitness maintenance that you guys do now is not just for the job itself, but it's more, you guys don't want to see any of your guys retiring at 50 and having a heart attack 3 days later. I mean, a lot of it's
Absolutely not.
long-term health driven. I mean, we talk about that all the time with even just the way your tones go off now. I mean, you're wearing a Whoop, for crying out loud. You've got guys and gals hooked into that now where it's like, hey, how can we make this a lifelong career, not one that kills me at 53?
Right. Yeah. The heart saver tones. And when I started out, we didn't really have any of those. And even, in my 20s, is in the middle of the night, you wake up to those tones, and it's like, oh God, my heart hurts.
Yeah, your
Or
adrenaline.
my chest
Adrenaline's.
hurts.
Yeah.
It's a lot better now, for sure.
100%. There's definitely been a push. Now I'm at a much bigger department that has a focus on health and fitness and wellness in general. And there's that, you can see the push, the transition towards, we are the best tool that that we can have, right? Like you have like beautiful rigs, you have amazing equipment, yada yada yada. Go past all that. They don't do any good if you don't have good operators for those, right? And if you keep damaging them over and over again, shift in, shift out throughout the course of 10, 15, 25 years, you're not gonna have. Doesn't matter the good tools that you have anymore. So we are the good tools, and we got to be taken care of. So there's definitely been that big push on, our sleep deprivation. That's a huge deal. Our adrenal fatigue is a huge deal with us. Like you get desensitized, like emotions, like everything just goes in a roller coaster ride once you begin the career, right?
Yeah.
Till the end, right? It doesn't go away. Like you can be 1 year in or 23 years in. The tones come in the same way.
Right.
The calls don't change. Your fire is a fire. Your heart attack is a heart attack. Your car accident is a car accident. They're not going to change. 25 years from now, they're going to be probably the same.
Yeah.
So we got to, what's outside the station doors is not going to change. We got to change what's inside of it, leaving those station doors to respond to those calls. Mm-hmm. We got to be primed for that, right?
It is, fascinating. I've just started wearing this Whoop strap and only worked a couple shifts with it. But the other day we went on, it was a cardiac arrest, and part of it's a little bit more stress for me right now, transitioning to that driver position.
Yeah.
So, but
Can't wreck the truck on the way.
yeah. Exactly.
Kind of important.
But like I hadn't.
You can't take a nap in the back anymore.
Hadn't worked out that day or anything. Got back to the station and was going through the data, and I was like, your max heart rate for the day was 149, and I was like, just going to that call, the adrenal stress of it, and then combined with, we don't do a lot of physical exertion anymore on codes because you're not doing compressions with the Lucas device and whatnot. But so most of that stress was all, or that elevated heart rate.
It's probably between the bed and the rig.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably between the bed, the moment that tone came off, to the rig, turn it on, leave the station. Was that maybe max 2.5 minute time frame of waking up, paying attention to what the tone is, to what your game of, your plan of action is going to be to get in the rig, everybody in, let's go. That's probably when his heart rate was at 150.
Yeah.
So now, if you can take too bad we don't have the time machine to go back and throw that strap on you during the wildland fires that we had. You guys were equally fatigued, just in the sense of work hours, but it was kind of consistent. There weren't, it wasn't tones. It was like, hey, the whole state's on fire, the whole West Coast on fire. Yeah. I'd be curious how your system had responded to that.
Just like 20 points higher in general at rest.
In general, but not the big spike. You just kind of, hey, I go to work and I ramp up, and I'm working really, really hard for 12 hours, 16 hours, and then I crash. I mean, you guys, you completely crash. You shove a bunch of calories in your face, and you conk out. But then it's
rinse, repeat.
Instead of getting toned out to wake up, it's just I got to get up and then go back to work. I kind of wonder what would be better longer term, and how that. Of course, probably going to get a chance to test that next summer, because every summer seems to put everything on the West Coast on fire now. But it's a different kind of stressor, and even like with our workouts and stuff, it's kind of like, do I want to do a 2K?
No.
Or would I rather do two Tabatas back to back?
No.
It's like, do I want to do like super jacked intervals or just a 2K? They're both going to suck.
Yeah.
But which one do I want to pound myself in the head with first, or more consistently? I mean, personally, I'd take the Tabatas. I like the intervals. It's up, down, up, down, up, down. Sitting down for a 2K is like, this sucks. But you do it. It's like, and you're equally beat up, but it's just a different way of getting it in there. I wonder long term, what that's going to do for the guys that stay with Wildland Fire for 20, 30 years, if they make it all the way through and stick with it, they don't change.
I think Wildland is a rougher career.
It feels like it. It feels like it, because it just grinds you down, right?
Yeah, but then, for that season, whatever season, how long it lasts, is just, money seems to be really good, but at the same time, I think you're paying a higher price than you're getting paid.
Because you're just getting ground into a pole.
You're just getting the shit beat out of you the whole day, and it's like you said, it's like 12 hour long days, or as long as it takes to get the job done for 14 days at a time.
Right.
Do you see a lot of old wildland firefighters though?
Good point.
You see them back in the rig, just pointing fingers, wearing the nice color helmets.
In the F-350, it's over there. Yeah,
get the bird to drop water there, and that's what they do.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's a true point, though. It's a valid point.
And generally, that's a younger person's game.
Yeah.
I'm also not a wildland firefighter, and I haven't gone on any deployments, so I don't know the answer to it.
Yeah, I'm yet to go on any state mobs or anything like that. I've played a lot with wildland, but out when I was with Yakima.
Right.
I played a lot with wildland, but not to any capacity that it's historical and you can talk about in the future to your grandchildren. It's very basic.
Well, and it's funny because it's a good parallel into what we talked about with putting the whole podcast together, and just the longevity of this thing is like, there's no one thing that you can do forever.
Yep.
You can't, you can't be guns blazing, hard charging, kicking down doors, structure fire every single day. You just can't do it. You can't sustain it. You gotta take breaks, right?
Yeah.
And even on the on the fitness side, it's like you can be primed for an event or primed for a window of time, but then you gotta throttle back. You gotta decompress. You gotta deload.
Deload.
Yeah.
On all aspects, right? I think on all aspects, work and peer. Yeah.
Well, and I don't remember. It was a class that I took. I don't know where the data came from, but the presenter was showing us the graph of, your normal 24 on 48, which is what most of the fire service does. You're working that shift, and your stress level peaks, and then it comes down, but then it peaks again, and it comes down. It takes, I think it was a solid 4 or 5 days of being off for you to come back down to a level.
So when you're
Like
48 off, it doesn't really come down
You
to a
don't
good
recover.
level. You're just peaking again on the next day on. So you just stay
Yeah.
at this constant stress level, oxidating right,
Exactly.
throughout. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oof.
So how do you? I mean, I know you're a fitness guy, but I mean, how do you deal with that to combat that? I mean, is there training on? Even though you're not off, you're off, but
Right.
just to try to flush all that toxin and even mental toxin out. I mean, how do you keep your mental fitness up, right? I mean, I hate that term mental health or mental wellness because I think it turns people off.
Yeah.
To like, well,
I'm broken, I'm damaged, I don't need to fix anything.
Yeah, and then there's the denial side of like, I'm fine, I don't need mental wellness. That's for bunch of unicorn riding, cupcake eating, blah blah. I hear that all the time. I'm like, well, if I said mental fitness, what would you call it? Like, well, yeah, I'm not mentally fit right now. I feel I'm a little beat up. It's like
True.
just changing the word, but really, how do you do that?
I feel like we're in a great time to be in the fire service right now because we're actually acknowledging and recognizing
Yeah.
that, and it's not one of those topics that you don't talk about.
It's not
anymore.
taboo anymore.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. Cancer prevention,
Yeah.
mental health awareness are huge now, and it's okay to talk about it at the fire station. Right?
Yeah.
Shared pain is pain divided.
Right, yeah. That's
Right.
100%.
That's a good way to put
Yeah,
that. Do,
it
do
is.
do either not well? Okay, without putting you on the spot, do either of you personally or know of guys that are in consistent, whether it's group therapy amongst the crews or inside the service or even seeking outside? Because I know a couple people that are. It's weekly and it's a check-in and it is they use the term mental hygiene and I'm like I kind of like the thought of that too because it's kind of like brushing your teeth. It's
Right.
like, well, you don't have cavities if you brush your teeth and floss, like you're fine. So if you
it's preventative.
preventative.
Right? It's proactive instead of reactive, right? And that's the biggest thing. Like I am on therapy, and I know other guys that go through therapy, right? Individually. We don't do anything as a team. It's not like a group, it's like a
Right.
couple's therapy at the station. But I know other guys that go through therapy. My therapist came through recommendations of one guy from my station, through his church. I'm not religious, and he knows I'm not religious. But he's like, dude, through my church, he's a pastor. He's like, I know a lot of people,
Right.
and a few of them are therapists. And this one lady, she sees a few of our guys, and she works a lot with police officers, firefighters, first responders in general. I'm like, yeah, give me her contact. And I started seeing her. This was about 5 months ago. Saw her about once a week in the beginning, and now it's like a once every kind of 3 or 4 weeks. We have a little check-in, and it's amazing.
And it is still fairly uncommon to find a therapist that is trained for public servants,
Yeah.
like fire and law enforcement.
Yeah.
So
They're not equipped to receive what we're giving sometimes, or just to process a lot of how we operate.
Right.
Right. There's so much bandwidth to give on anything that is, and our minds are all over the place, right? Like from the dark sense of humor to how we flush, how we process things, to how we operate from one minute
Do you
to
think
another.
do you think it's because I don't know a soft way to say this, but do you think it's because too many people in that field come from academia and not from the profession itself?
Yep.
yeah, probably. I don't
So your best second career then for either, especially both of you guys, would be, hey, I'm going to go get my therapy degree. I mean, there's got to be a way to, because I know at least with some of my other friends that are in the law enforcement side, military side, their best therapy is seeing professionals within their own field that came through that field and understand, hey, if I say XYZ, they understand what I mean, even if it, a civilian take it completely differently, right?
Right,
You
yeah.
talk about the dark sense of humor and things like that. It's
Yeah.
just those coping mechanisms of like, I mean, we know it's like the jokes are terrible,
No, they're
Well, that's why I say it's a great time for us coming up into it, is because the best
Yeah.
therapy that you're going to get is in the cab on the ride back from the call.
Yeah,
with your coworkers.
That dinner table,
And
sitting down and talking, washing
Right.
calls. Yeah.
and did through the Tim Dietz class. It's like you're actually taking that apple, is the way he describes it, and you're not just throwing it in your backpack until it overfills. You're taking it after the call happened and eating it there, dividing it up among the crew.
Yeah.
And if you have to go beyond that and get therapy for it, it's not a stigma anymore.
That's awesome. I mean, that's super good to hear, because I know back in the old guard back in the day, there was no fucking
egos,
chance.
Yeah.
That's what
No
I say.
way.
I'm good.
I'm
I'm
good,
good.
bro.
I don't need to. That didn't bother me. I'm good.
I hope that
Yeah.
we get more therapists that specialize in it, but also that there's not a need for it in the future, because it's acknowledged and people talk about it before it becomes an issue.
So that's interesting, because I mean, so you guys you decomp on the way back if you can. If you're not going like call to call, you just back to the house,
Right.
things like that.
For like a fire, or
yeah.
just
Or like a troublesome
Well,
call,
yeah,
right? Like
something
I think
that's-
that
that's
would
the other thing that's
shake you.
changing too, is
Yeah.
our post-fire decon, and that's huge now, in that we have decon kits on the truck for cancer prevention.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you're taking your turnouts from the fire, and you're stepping in the garbage bag, taking them all off, sealing them up, and riding back in shorts or something to the firehouse.
Right.
And I think some organizations actually go out of service
Yeah.
to do a full decon and get restored back into service. And
Yeah.
taking that priority to get back and take the shower and
So and that
switch your gear
yeah.
out. So it used to be first in, last out, and they've changed to first in, first out now.
Yeah. So what we have at our department is something, we do the same. You go out of service until you go back, right? Until you get ready, the rig ready, you guys are ready, showered. And possibly if you have like a rough call, let's say you walk into whatever, let's say it's a fire, an accident, you have something, victims that can shake somebody up.
Right.
You're not back in service until that is taken care of as well.
Oh.
Until you sit down at the table, it's like, hey, we're gonna hot wash this real quick, and is everybody good? Do we need to get our peer support team to come here and have a talk to the guys? And hey, how are you feeling? What did you do on this call? What was your involvement with it?
Yep.
How are you feeling right now? What shook you or what didn't?
Right.
Like, no, like I'm good. I'm all right. I'm good to go. All right. You're ready. Next up. Hey, how are you feeling? Yeah, man, you know what? That kind of, the victim shook me up a little bit. I'm feeling a little guilty. Like, oh, what if we had gotten there a little bit earlier? I'm feeling that guilt, or, that victim was a child and I have children at home, so I'm a little bit more connected to this call. Are you good? No, I'm not physically fit. I'm not mentally fit to go back to this
Right.
call.
Mental fitness, right? Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not ready yet. You want to go home? I think I'm going to take the rest of the shift off. All right, send a mass blast. We need overtime to cover the rest of the shift because one person is going home. Get somebody else on the seat. Hey, go home. Go take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's huge, man. That didn't happen before. You talk about 15, 20 years ago. Hey, everybody good to go. Rig is ready. All right, man. Back at it.
Right.
And you can have somebody just, beating their heads against the wall, just like, fuck, I'm not good.
Well, and I think that's what translated in the last 10, 15 years, the suicide rates of first responders increasing so dramatically, was people weren't dealing with it.
It's processing, right? Scoping. Like, people just don't have the tools to cope, to process before. You just, your best medicine is the bottom of a bottle, right? Or is the pills you're taking. And next thing you know, it becomes whatever 9 mil you have in front of you.
Right.
Well, and then the other thing that happened 10 to 15 years ago is our smartphones, right?
Right.
And social media and the
Yeah.
digital
Yep.
age.
Exactly.
So
Horrible.
I think, the fire service has been around for several hundred years.
Yeah.
But in general, on a mass public scale, I think maybe that's playing a factor influence on some of those rates that we're seeing.
Absolutely.
Well, and I got to think it would cut both ways too, because now, you guys jump on Instagram and, hashtag firefighter or, whatever. I mean, you can follow your local. You got a bunch of other guys from all over the world that you've never met, but your
We're connected.
family, your brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the same with PD. And the ability to see that other people are dealing with the exact same thing, if they're willing to articulate it, that you are, that's got to be reaffirming that it's like, hey, I'm not fucked up. We're all fucked up, or but I mean, it's like I'm not alone, and I don't need to take this extreme measure, the bottom of a bottle or the pill bottle or the the last round of the magazine kind of thing. I got to think that's I mean, that sword cuts both ways, because it can be damaging and detrimental, but it can also be a tool for helping.
Right.
I agree with you, Jake, that it can be a tool for helping, but I don't think it's being used that way just yet, or not by the vast majority. Enough.
Yeah.
It should be. Unfortunately, you take all platforms of social media and it becomes a facade, right? It becomes a mask that people only show the highlight reels of their lives.
The pretty stuff.
The pretty stuff. Nobody's really showing the dark days, the dark nights,
Right.
and they're not really showing or willing to, like you said, articulate or put out there, expose themselves to, hey man, no, my life or life right now is not the best. I'm going through a rough patch, whether it's at work or life, because our work is directly related to our personal lives, right? Like
Right.
we take work home, regardless of how you cut that pie. Like work comes home with us, and vice versa. So like, yeah, work is not good. No, that translates to my life at home is not good with my significant other, my kids, my family. So a lot of people are not willing to put that out there on social media. They rather put out the good stuff, right? Because the good stuff get likes and they get good comments, and that becomes a little endorphin fix, a little quick like fix that people just want that little
That dopamine drip.
That dopamine
Yep,
drip. They're like, I feel good right
exactly.
now, and that's what I needed. I needed that quick
As Paul
fix.
currently checks his Instagram for likes, just
I
to
know.
make sure.
Paul, I like you, Paul.
Well, that was one of the points that I had, and just in general, you're looking at the longevity of things like the social media or the digital age, net positive or negative on our lives, and I don't think it's going away for sure.
Yeah.
But we're still in that social experiment.
It's an experiment, yeah, but it should be used. It can be used for positive. It can be used to be put out there. The tools that he has to help people go through these rough patches, right? You have companies like Next Rung, that they work a
Right.
lot with
Yep.
not just veterans, but like firefighter, first responders, suicide. They have
Yep.
the hotlines you can call, and everybody. You have major, what it's called now, influencers, right? People that we look up to, like Tim Kennedy and other guys, that they're always putting out there, hey man, if you're struggling, call a number,
Yeah.
reach out. Andy Stumpf is like, man,
Yep.
reach out. But people are still not.
There's a barrier there.
There's a barrier, right? Whether it's an ego barrier of like, no, I'm not going to put it out there that I don't want to say the word broken, but that I need to do the check engine light is on.
Yeah, I'm struggling with
I need
something.
to do a little maintenance
Yeah.
check, right? The check engine is on between the years. I got to go and do a little maintenance on that. People are still not willing to do that because of whatever barrier is keeping them from doing so, right? Whatever is keeping them from taking that leap. And it takes more guys like Paul, myself, you that have the opportunity to put out their word to like, listen, man, let's work on this together. Like, I am not okay. Like, I've been going through a rough patch in life, right? And I've been overcoming a lot of it because I'm willing to put it out there.
It's
Right?
kind of an interesting, and I don't want to jump on in between there, but your Instagram is fascinating to me, and it always has been, because it's the same reason I follow the same guys you do, and
Yeah.
listen to the same kind of the people who are authentic.
Yeah.
That it's, hey, I fucked this up,
Yeah.
or I did this pretty well. Everything's in balance, right? It's like it's not just, and it's all not just all negative. It's
Right.
hey, I crushed this today, or man, I blew it,
Right.
and straight up just talk about it. Hey, this is tough. This is not easy right now. I'm having a hard time with this. It makes me want to listen to them more, as opposed to the ones that are just like, every damn day, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
I'm the
yeah.
shit, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
and then they do that one passive, like once a month, or if it's a suicide awareness campaign, they do one post about one thing, like, I have my dark times. Man, that's awesome, except you're full of shit, because
Right.
all you do is put your edited content out there 99.9% of the time, and then that 0.1% to make you feel a little bit better about not being so
A piece of shit.
egotistical piece of shit. It's like I just can't. I still look at it because I kind of, it's like, just look at everything, but
Yeah.
it's like
But you can cut through you can see through the bullshit right away.
yeah. It's fascinating that take it for example, The Rock, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's the most, the biggest, all that kind of stuff, and it's very curated. But he has enough of an authenticity in the, like, hey, this was hard for me. Like when he, talking about losing his dad.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, that's not something you see out of,
It's not manufactured.
No.
Yeah.
And people don't talk about like what that does and what that gap is and that hole and what's missing, and for me, it's, I've got, it's hard when I see things, it's hard to articulate, but when you see kids who've committed suicide, it's like, fuck, man,
dude, yeah,
like,
it's
god
tough.
damn it, and if you
Yeah.
work with enough kids long enough, statistically, it's gonna, you're gonna some way, shape, or form, it's gonna impact you. It might be with not somebody you've coached, but it might be a friend of the, and it's just like, you see this stuff, and it's like, God, if I could just get it out there to where it's like, hey, before don't treat this like I need to get help when it's an emergency. It needs to be a priority before it's I got to call the hotline because I'm in crisis.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is, most of the time they're not going to call the hotline when they're in crisis. They're past that point. And they've committed to something.
Yeah.
And same with your guys in your service. Wouldn't you rather have had that conversation with the guy 10 shifts ago?
Oh my God,
with
yeah.
whatever it was, if it was the kid in the car, or if it was, COVID right now with everything going on. You've got families that a friend of ours who's a nurse, she was holding her phone FaceTime so that the family could say goodbye. It's like, fuck, that sucks.
I mean, dude, 9 times out of 10, and I don't know if Paul will agree with this, is if you hear somebody close to you within the service or whatever branch that commits, suicide, the very first response out of any of us is going to be, oh my God, I had no idea.
Yep.
There's the very first thing that's going to come out of somebody's mouth. It's like, oh, I had no idea.
I wish I'd have known.
I wish I had known. If he or she had, come in, I had no idea he or she was struggling.
Right.
That's the very first thing that's going to come out of 99% of the people around that individual, right? Is the struggles between, within the four walls of that person.
Their life looked great on social media.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
And what they present to you, they come to the station with a smile on their face.
Or the gym,
guys,
or anything, yeah.
Or the gym, high five everybody. How's everything? Everything's great. Life is good. How's work? Work is great. How's life at home? Life is great. Here, they're awesome. At the station, they're awesome.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Like, well, let me know when you wake up from that nightmare.
All right.
Yeah.
And dude, and therapy, yeah, man. Visiting back therapy, it comes in many forms, right? Therapy is not just sitting, at a room with somebody and laying down on the couch and
right.
yeah, my day today was, how do you feel about that? That's not just therapy. Therapy comes a lot by yourself. You can do therapy alone, by yourself. Find ways to do it. Whatever suits your soul is therapy. Whatever massage that soul that it stimulates the muscle between the ears, right? Is therapy.
Like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, turning it into a mental fitness game,
Yeah.
not a touchy-feely.
It's a muscle. You got to work it out.
Yeah, exactly. And those are skill sets. And it's, you got to stay mentally sharp. And people talk about that all the time. It's like you lose mental sharpness as you stop engaging. And it's like, okay, so if I keep engaging with this and just kind of keep working on it, I'm going to get better. There's going to be setbacks. It's like, even in the gym, it's like a PR. It's like you go after a squat PR and you miss it. It's like, shit. Doesn't mean you quit. It just means you got to kind of go back a couple steps and then work back up again. That's just where, it's hard to...
It's the same thing. You're tearing the muscle, you're healing it, you're fixing, you're growing it.
So I know you've been doing a lot of hikes recently. I find it interesting because we just got back from a trip to Utah, and occasionally you would see somebody with like headphones in or something on the trail.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? Are you listening to a podcast right now, or what do you?
Sounds of nature?
Yeah.
You can just take it off. There's sounds of nature around you.
But I'm getting a little sidetracked here. But have you ever been on a hike and somebody has music like on a
100%.
boombox?
So,
that is
dude,
so infuriating.
100%. Like when they pass you, or like if I try
Yeah,
to do.
yeah.
I think we're very fortunate to have the schedules that we have because we can't afford to have middle of the weekdays off.
Yeah, hit the off days.
Exactly, and we hit it on the off days where the hike or whatever trail or whatever
Right.
camping is for yourself. But every now and then you got to fit somebody's with somebody's schedules that can only hike on the weekends.
Or have kids.
You're like, all right, man, we'll do a little hike with your kid, or we'll do a hike on Saturday. And next thing you know, it's going to be a busy place, a busy hike,
Right.
where you just got to, woosah, count to 10. And this experience is not what I'm getting out of it, it's for them.
Right.
And then you start running into people on that trail.
Yeah.
Right, start passing people, or people start passing you. It's a busy trail, and people are talking, being loud. I've seen people smoking, and the thing that cringes me the most is when they have the little boom box in the back of their pack, and you're whatever they're listening to, it can be something I like.
Yeah.
I hate it at that point. it's just horrible. It just
Fucked up my zen, man.
I know, man. You're getting my chi out of me.
Yeah. What's like running or hiking in general? Generally, I do it with my wife.
Yeah.
So there's conversation. But
You mean
there's
our
also-
master audio engineer?
Yeah. There's also periods in there where it's just you walking out there.
Yeah.
Whether together or you're by yourself, but you're in your own headspace
100%
during that time.
That's
and
therapy.
Thinking through things and
therapy.
yeah.
Well, and
Yeah,
that can
man.
be, that's
Therapy.
scary for people sometimes. They don't
Yes.
want to get there because they're good at the distractions, right?
Exactly.
I mean, they're
want it.
good at the distraction. I see it with my 9-year-old. It's like she loves the phone, there's a timer on it, and part of it's like, well, now what? Like, figure it out, be creative. And she is. It's great. But it's like we force that, and there's other people that don't. And I'm not saying that's, you're good parent, bad parent if you don't do it, but it's more just like, if you
the digital babysitter.
the digital babysitter, and then there's times, and I mean, you guys don't have kids yet, not
that I know of, no.
not that you know of, at least. No little Leos running around. Practice makes permanent. Just be careful. But the digital babysitter, it's like, dude, you can't. There are times where it's just like, I just need 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I got to get some shit done, and it takes concentration that I don't have to be able to input, because you do want to give them that time and that space, but then it's like anything else. It's like, well, okay, a little bit of ice cream's okay,
Right.
but 2 gallons a day, and now all of a sudden you're diabetic, right? And so it's like we've got a generation of little people, tall people, that are on these phones that are making themselves digitally diabetic with, a little bit of ice cream's okay. I mean, I've got Instagram. You guys, y'all got Instagram, but we're not sitting on it 8 hours a day. Twitch, TikTok,
Every single
Twitter.
platform
It's like
to-
every
to
platform.
take
Oh my
keep your
God.
attention engaged without.
Well, I mean, I'll say even when I am spending large amounts of time on there, whether it's just bored or what, I generally don't feel very good by the end of the day. Whereas if you go out, you do a workout, you're active, work on a project around the house, or go for a hike or something, usually feel pretty good that day.
Pretty good.
Dig a ditch, see a ditch, build a deck, see a deck.
Yeah.
Like there's something tangible there that you can use. It's hard because that digital space, though, it's such a good platform for communicating. I mean, this is going out via digital, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's like, so, how to use that tool effectively, but then also positively,
Right?
Not to where it's like it and it is obviously anybody that puts out a podcast, anybody that puts out any content of any kind, you want not attention necessarily, but you want a positive feedback loop. You want to be able to, and for me at least, I kind of look at it like coaching here.
You want to impact positively.
You want to impact people's lives positively and hopefully give them a new tool or new skill set. And it's the same thing at the gym. It doesn't, anybody's a good coach or, a good firefighter or a good, but you don't give a shit if one of your guys wins the Ultimate Firefighter Challenge. You just want them to do better. You know, it's like, hey, I want to do better because I want to do it. That's awesome. If I can help with that, I would love to. If I can't help with that, I'm going to find somebody that can. I mean, you guys are my therapy boxes a lot of times, and whether you know it or not. But the fact is that there's not a lot of people that are willing to sit down and talk about this and or share what's worked for them, because it can be seen as a weakness. I do credit you a ton, Leo, with, because you put it out there. It's like, dude, this sucks. I don't like this.
So I mean, I have a pretty good size following, right? If you want to use it for that term, it's like I have a pretty good engagement with I have 37,000 followers.
Network,
right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably, I know 300 people.
Yeah. Maybe.
Out of 300 people, within my close circle, it's like 50. I don't know 37,000. But 37,000 people see what I'm putting out there. Right. So for me, it's the engagement of, it's easy for me to stay engaged with those people because I do get a lot of messages. I do get a lot of comments and people asking questions because I put it out there, right? I put out there, hey, listen, today sucked. Or this is what I'm trying to get after when I'm going, for a workout or for, it's not just about a PR. Like there's an aspect of being inside a gym for me that is a lot more than just the physical aspect of things, right? Like in this past, I guess, 6 months to a year, I've been working on my head a lot more than I've been working on my body. But for me, I use the gym as an outlet for that because
it's a tool.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
And the outdoors for me is another tool. For me to stay moving my body, that's the tool that I use to accomplish what I need to accomplish within my head. And I do put it out there because it's very nice. And talking about that fix that we get with the social media is that it is nice when you get somebody that sends you a message personally and says, dude, man, thanks. I needed this today. I appreciate you for putting this stuff out there, and it works for me. And how are you coping with this? And asking me questions and engages with me in a conversation that is just more than just some BS, like, oh, did you look good? Yo, nice fucking pack, bro.
Your glutes look sweet in those tights.
It's like, no, hey, man, your content is awesome because I can relate with this, and I'm actually going through some stuff too within my family or within my job, and can I share a little bit more with you? I have, I have a buddy. He runs Books Behind the Badge, and it's about reading for self-improvement. And he's a firefighter too, and he's all about just reading and self-improving. He runs his own podcast. He has his own thing that he wants to just get people to do better. Right, and that's all we're here for. I just want people to do better. And if I can connect with somebody that can come back to me and say, "Listen, man, cool workout, or cool hike, beautiful view," but when I actually take the time to read what's under that, and I say, "Oh shit, it goes a lot deeper than just having a nice view on the hike."
Right.
He was seeking something out of that activity. Right. He was out there for 8 hours by himself for a reason, not just because he wanted to pay off only at the end of that hike. He wanted to pay off within his head, because by the time he comes back to his car, he flushed out a whole month worth of shit. He worked out his muscle between the ears so much more than he worked out his legs up and down that hike.
Right.
Right. There's a lot more that comes out of, in between my ears gains than it comes out of anything else. And I put that out there. I was like, listen, I needed this today because that's where I am in my life. And I look back in my past traumas through my childhood until I was an older age, that I finally figured everything out. And I have to flush all this stuff out. I have to journal this. I have to read different material. And I have a lot of work to be done within my ears that I need to be out there to do it, instead of being connected in my phone for 8 hours a day.
Distracted with that dopamine hit.
Because then I don't have time to work on myself.
Right.
But I'll make sure that by the time I am done with that activity, I'll share it with you guys. And I'll put it out there. And this is my outlet to the world. Like this, hey guys, that's what I'm getting out of this, and this is how I'm processing things. If somebody can get something out of this, awesome. My not that my job is done, but I'll feel good about that.
Right.
But this is a huge distraction, man. That phone is a huge distraction that can keep you locked in for hours at a time. And like Paul said, you don't feel good at the end of the day.
No. In fact, studying for stuff, sometimes I'll just set my phone in the other room.
Get it away from you.
Yeah, get it out of your pocket, or
get it away from you.
You're a lot more productive with my time that way.
Yeah.
It's interesting because if you shut off social media right now, instantaneously, I'd be totally fine.
Life would
I'm
not
like, sweet,
change.
flip phone, go back to my BlackBerry.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, it's like, I get, for some people, it's a different kind of therapy, because it's more like a narcotic, in the sense of like, hey, time is going to pass, because you don't like where you're at, and you can distract yourself over this thing. And it's going to sound hilarious, but I am of the video game generation, and I can't even quantify the number of hours where it's like, hey, I'm going to play Xbox for the next 7 hours. Well, why? Well, because I don't have to think about anything.
True.
I literally just have to think about who's around the next corner about to take a frag, and just live in that exact instantaneous moment of, some first person, like Halo or something like that. But it's like, you don't actually have to think or process anything. And it was a great way, especially with my background, all those surgeries and shit, post-op. It's like, you hurry up and wait, right? Hurry up and wait sucks when you can't physically move.
You just want to be numb.
Right. Put a controller in my hand and my brain just goes into freaking mush mode. And, all that college and everything, it's like, I've got big gaps of like, yep, I took that class, have no fucking idea what happened in that class. And it was great. So, but I can understand how the phone and the social media side works the same way for a lot of people, where it's just like, hey, I don't like my life station right now, so I'm just going to distract myself with all
the
this.
drug at the end's the same.
Exactly. It's the exact same thing at the very end. It's just a different way to get there.
Probably an exception for being able to compartmentalize video games and then not having it affect your outside life, maybe, because there's a lot of people that have had divorces because of video game addiction.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I know of people that have.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was coming into, there wasn't, like, especially when I was in high school, there was no internet, there wasn't internet. It wasn't, and I'm not that old. It's like, I was right at the time where, I built my first computer, I think senior year of high school, and we had dial-up, and it was like a Pentium. It might have been a 486. It might not even been a Pentium yet. I built my computer and call it, like, we didn't, Napster wasn't even there. It's like, so all that stuff happened
So
when
many
all
viruses on my parents' computer.
LiveWire, and then LimeWire, all
Mom,
that
get
stuff
off the phone,
happened.
I gotta connect.
Hey, hang out, beep. All that happened when I was in college and grad school, which was great because I had independence. So it was like, I could do whatever I wanted, and I could do it as long as I wanted, and that came with other kinds of consequences. But it was one of those things where it was like, oh, this is a thing, and it does this thing over here, but I still like people, and I'm still very much like, sports or whatever I could do, and still want to be socially engaged. And then it was nice when those things crossed over, and your buddies played and all that kind of stuff. But that was at the very front end of this giant domino, and now it's like, we're not at the back end of it by any means, but it is definitely, domino's probably wrong. It more like a snow. That was like the snowflake, and then the snowball, and now we're kind of in this avalanche of like, well, shit, how are we going to throttle this a little bit towards more functional? And, for me, I don't know how to do that because I don't have any clue about any of that. What I do know a little bit about is, if you can articulate a way that something helped you to somebody else, it might not be the exact same way. Your hammer might not look like their hammer, but we still got to hit the same nail, right? So it's like, okay, this is the way you're going to use what I just tried, and it's going to work for you when and if I can help you figure that out, that's awesome. And if not, then maybe find another avenue. And kind of the whole point of this, conversation and the ones following this are, hey, we've got a bunch of different tools between us, and we are a bunch of tools, but we've got a bunch of different tools between us, and something that works for you,
Yeah.
you know, I'd be like, sweet, awesome, Paul, that's great. Fuck no. You know, but then like Leo might have something to be like, okay, I can jam on that, you know,
Yeah.
or vice versa, or, you know, you guys look at my stuff and be like, what the hell is my heart doing?
Paul's bike rides, right? Paul's motorcycle
yeah.
rides. He's
Yeah.
enduro rides. I'm sure he comes back home after a whole day. He takes off his stuff. He looks around. He's like, I feel freaking great today after a
Right.
long ride. Like I feel amazing. I needed that.
Right. Well,
Right?
and you talk about distractions, like you're playing video games, or you're thinking to yourself in your head on a hike.
Yeah.
The motorcycle or shooting or anything like that is present minded, like being
In the moment.
100% in the
You're
moment.
focused on what you're doing right
So you don't
there and
die.
then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finding those moments of zen or
But that
or
hyper focus goes a
relaxation,
long way. It's like shooting arrows, right? Like
Right.
a lot of guys talk about, I don't shoot arrows, but a lot of guys talk about how they shoot hundreds of arrows at a day, and their therapy is that 20-yard
Right.
from the where they are to the target, getting their arrows back,
Breath
walking
control,
back.
breath control,
Yeah,
hand control,
it's-
finger
it's-
control. So
it's
you,
their
I mean,
therapy.
obviously we're kind of wired the same way, but I mean, you find writing and some of that stuff where it's like it's hyper focused in the
Right.
exact moment, so you literally don't crash
Yeah.
or fall off the side of a hill or what, you know,
Yeah.
or like my brother and I shoot archery too, and it's, you know, same
Right.
thing with going to the gun range and things like that. It's like I find it therapeutic, and it's funny because people kind of laugh and make fun of that, but I think it's just because honestly they don't understand that that is just a different type of tool to get to the, you know, some people go to yoga and
Yeah, man.
and some people meditate. You know, my joints hurt. I don't like sitting still. It fucking hurts.
I mean, I can be pulling this out of my ass, but for me, like, what I would say is that find a hobby, right? Find something that you enjoy doing, but something that can get you to be alone with yourself to process whatever is going on, right? Like, I think that I can be alone and find a hobby as maybe playing video games, but at the same time, I'm focused on, I'm engaged on that video game at that time, right? So I'll spend 8 hours and I'll get nothing out of that.
Yeah,
Right?
there's no positive
There's no
outcome.
positive. At
Right.
the end of it, I was so engaged in whatever stimulus I'm getting out of that screen that at
Right.
the end of 8 hours, I'm like, holy shit, where did those 8 hours go? Right? So for me, and that's a hobby,
Yeah.
right? But I'll find my hobbies are things that I truly enjoy doing, that I'm getting a lot of positive out of just the enjoyment of doing it, but it forces me to be with myself. And I don't have that fear of being alone anymore because I figured out I am my own best friend.
terrifying.
It's terrifying for a lot of people, right? And
Yeah.
it was for me too. For the longest time in my life, I didn't know who I was. So I had a lot of dwelling information in my head and being alone. I fought with myself inside my head because I didn't know who I was. So it's hard for me. It was hard for me to be by myself, right? Because you're in a constant fight. So you're alone. Yeah, you're thinking, but at the same time, you're in this little devil on the shoulder, little angel on the other shoulder, and they're fighting with each other, and you just get nowhere.
Do you guys think? Do you think that's what maybe pulled you into civil service and being a responder was because maybe you didn't want to, and it might have been subconscious, you know, coming up from your childhood and things like that, to where it's like if I can help other people by proxy, I'm going to help myself. But the reality is, I'm just helping them in their crisis moment, and I'm not really fixing my own my own demons.
I think a big part of it for me, yeah, because if you think somebody else is broken and you have this fixer mentality,
Right.
and you worry so much about their problems, it takes away the time to worry about your problems, right? Ooh, I'm going to fix you, and you become this knight in shining armor that I'm so giving, the sacrifice to help somebody else, and you're just swiping yours under the rug. It's like, I don't have time for me. I
Right.
got all these problems on these other people to fix that I don't have time for me. And next thing you know, time flies by, you look in the mirror, it's like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
Right? And you have all these issues.
I think I had a more selfish approach.
Fight fire, play with water? Yeah!
I want a legitimate excuse to grow a mustache. I have to be a firefighter.
November?
no, it's definitely the adrenaline, exciting,
Yeah.
using your mind,
Yeah.
having something different to do potentially
Yeah.
on every shift,
Right.
and then helping people was kind of a byproduct, for
Right.
sure, at
I
the
think so
time.
too, yeah.
You go home and feel good about what you did.
Yeah. Yeah, I have different reasons why I came into the service. For me, fire service was never something predominantly through my childhood and young adulthood. I come from Brazil. I didn't come from a country where the fire service is a predominant thing, right? It's not.
Right.
It's not seen as it is.
It's like if the
seen
neighbor's
here.
house is on fire, the neighbors help put it out.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
yeah.
You're looking at it. You have no idea what.
Right.
You know, it's different.
Water. Yeah, let's go with water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's going to put water in
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
And it's just 9/11 happened here. It blew up. The fire service became more on the spotlight, right? Obviously, like first responders in general.
Right.
Brazil didn't have that, right?
Right.
It's just a different culture coming from there. It was not something that I didn't walk around my childhood to the local firehouse and go into the fire trucks and have them turn the lights on.
Right, and give you a sticker and a hat.
There's
and-
none of
yeah.
that, right? This is inexistent.
Right.
So, but I knew in my young age, like when I was of age, actually, like during college in Brazil, that I wanted to serve to some capacity. And my culture was always more linked to the U.S. because I imitated a lot. I grew up skateboarding, BMXing, like very alternative, like around the punk scene. So it was always a lot more, quote unquote, Americanized. So I know I was going to end up here at some point, and I wanted to serve to a capacity. Military was my first option. That didn't happen due to immigration situations at the
Right.
time. Like, I was under sponsorship. That wasn't happening. And then eventually the fire service kind of came my way through fitness. Like I was talking to you before in the beginning of this conversation,
Right.
is that I started meeting people that was, the owner of the gym down in Miami that I was a coach at, Scott, he's a lieutenant now for Miami. He's the guy that was like, dude, do this. You'll be good at this. And that's when, started shining the light towards me. And then he came kind of almost the same reasons as Paul. It's kind of like the adrenaline rush, the brotherhood, all those
Yeah.
things started playing a role. And I've always had a couple of issues with male figures in my life. I didn't have good male figures growing up. So I saw
And now
that.
you're in a predominant, 94% male profession?
Exactly. You have very few girls that work with us, mainly guys. And these are guys that I can kind of blindly trust,
Yeah.
that are going to have good values, good morals. So I kind of seek that brotherhood, that I don't want to say father figure, but that North Star of values for me.
Right.
Right. So the fire service kind of played that role for me too. So I have that reason as well to be in it. Right. And on top of that, yeah, man, we get to do a pretty cool job.
Fire service family.
The fire service family, I
That's,
never.
I don't know that there are many other jobs, if any, out there that are like this.
I don't think so.
In that regard.
Maybe the military to some
PD.
extent, some branches, but I have no exposure to that capacity.
I guess I knew that going into it.
Yeah.
That, I didn't know anything about it,
Mhm.
but that was definitely one of the things that is advertised about the fire service.
Yeah.
Is the family component. But for me, it was like looking back on, well, I have all these things that I'm good at, not one individual thing in
Right.
particular, but it sounds like I could probably do this.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is general for most people in the fire
It
service.
is.
You might have a specialty in one area, but you kind of got to be good at everything.
Like a jack of all trades, master of something.
Yeah.
Master of something.
Something, maybe.
Cooking.
Master, yeah.
Cooking definitely is helpful, yeah. But the fire service family is definitely a draw.
It's huge, a huge draw. I don't have anybody family-wise, like direct bloodline in the U.S.
Right.
Everybody's down, South America. Everybody's in Brazil, in the tropics, enjoying the sunshine right now. So last week I had a death in the family to somebody very close to me. I had my grandmother passed away. She was already weak. We all kind of expected it.
Right.
But at the same time, when it comes, it doesn't come easy, regardless of how much you expect.
The void is
right?
still a void.
The void is still a void. There's a lot of nostalgia that comes with it. There's a lot of memories. So it hit pretty close to home. No, it hit home, right? Because she raised me. So, and me not having direct family here, I felt very, very alone, right? Man, the guys at the station, at my station, when I dropped the news that they saw, and we kind of shared, because I told my captain right away, it's like, hey, Cap, this happened. I might be a little shook up. Can I just hit the gym for a little bit? Here we go, the therapy. I need that therapy
Right.
real quick, right? So I'm just going to be in the gym for a little while. Dude, I had so many phone calls, texts. I had my union send flowers to my house. With like, hey, man, sorry for your loss. Guys texting me, girls texting me from my department. Guys come in and give me a hug. It's like, dude, I'm sorry for your loss, man. I know
Yeah.
it means a lot to you. Like, do you need anything? Do you need to go home? That kind of like, are you mentally fit to be here?
Right.
Do you need to
Yeah.
go home?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Or do you need anything?
Exactly. What do you need? And that warmth of that fire family hug that came from all around me, dude, like that is such a soft spot for me to have that, because I never had that growing up from the close family, the male figures, all those things that I searched for. It finally felt like it was here. It's here.
Yeah.
So, man, there's the best job in the world, man. It's not just a job. It's a family. It's like a brotherhood. It's just everything that you can search for, that I was searching for. I found it without really, actively searching for it. Like when something happened, it got shown to me that it's
A happy
there.
consequence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of the most powerful examples that come to me are unfortunately always associated with tragedy.
Yeah.
For me personally, I had an experience where like my grandfather died, and so I took bereavement leave.
Yeah.
And then I was questioned a little bit when I came back early. They're like, "Well, why are you back?" I was like, "Well, honestly, I wanted to be with you guys,
Same.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to be with you guys, take my mind off that for a little bit,
Yeah.
and just be at work and enjoy the family." The other ones are if there was a death in the family of a close relative or spouse or
Yeah.
something, and you find out about that, and within a matter of I think a day and a half, that person had 3 months covered, trades, no payback.
Yeah.
Right?
It's amazing,
that,
man.
Yeah.
That his brothers and sisters came and said, "Yeah, we'll work for you. Get your stuff in order. Take this time,
Yeah.
and come back when you're ready." So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you guys know me pretty freaking well.
Yep.
That's the hardest part about not being in that world
Yeah.
is that this outside world of that, the independent small business owner, COVID lockdowns, all that stuff notwithstanding, it's hard enough anyways. It is not like the guy across the street is not your buddy.
No.
The guy down the street, is not there to help you.
Yeah.
There is no real true incentive for them to have that community.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for, somebody that comes up as a team sport athlete.
Yeah.
I mean, both my parents are married. I got my brother, and there's any given time, other than mom, any given time I was ready to, fight with my dad, hug my
Yeah.
dad, fight with my brother, love my brother. It's the same thing. It's like when you're, and same thing with teams. You might have a team that you're on where you fucking can't stand the guy across from you, that you're squaring up
still-
against in practice.
yeah.
But when we're playing the game, we're on the same team, and I don't
Yeah.
give a royal shit. I want to, we want to win together. And that the military, first response, medical, that's the only arena that exists in more or less anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll go do events and things like that where it's like, a company will sponsor and you get a bunch of different gyms or fitness communities together, or even like CrossFits. But,
Right.
even CrossFit, it's like, yeah, they're all independent empires. They're not.
True.
They're not really on the same team, and
Right.
they would just as soon take your members if
Yeah.
you were next door to them as anything else. And it's really, really, really hard to operate in, I'd say, the real world, because I feel like there are two different existences. You guys have that, which I can't even quantify the level to which I miss.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, most people don't even understand that world exists. And if they did, you'd probably see more people turning out for fire,
Oh my
police,
God,
medical,
yeah.
because they'd understand, like, hey, when stuff's great, it's awesome. You get to do high speed shit. You get to drive cars fast. If you're in the PD side, you get to do all the fun stuff on patrol. If you're in the fire side, you do all the stuff on, climb ladders, save kittens, like all that shit. Medical side, when it's not COVID, people
had
have
to
fun.
blend it in there.
I understand why there aren't lines out the door for the police job anymore, but I don't get the,
Yeah.
the fire service.
We're the
side
good
of it.
guys.
It's
And
like,
it's but I mean, that's the thing, right? Is people don't know what they're missing, and they don't understand that whole world exists, and that's where it's like really hard, in the fitness side of things and everything. It's like, and kind of the point of putting this whole podcast together even was that, like, hey, there's a lot of different ways to get around this. Not any one thing is the right answer, and I think too often, on the private industry side, not public, which is what you guys are in.
Yeah.
On the private industry side, too many people think that their answer is the answer and that everyone should have their answer. And maybe that makes me a bad business person because I don't believe that. I don't believe in any one methodology. I don't believe that. I mean, there are certain things about CrossFit that are fantastic. There were things about Jim Jones that were awesome. There's things about, your
name
standard
it,
traditional Olympic lifting. There's powerlifting stuff. All that stuff into a big melting pot creates a much stronger base than if you try to just take one widget and make it universally applicable to every single body. It just doesn't work that way. And that is like the hardest freaking thing to articulate to people outside of the first response or military world, is it like, hey,
Yeah.
we can all be on the same team. We're all part of the same community. Yes, we might be using fitness as that tool. We might be, might be using work, your guys' work capacity as that tool to put everybody together. But it's one of those things I bang my head against the wall and like trying to figure out how to crack that nut of getting it out there, because for me at least, I see the next generation coming up, a lot of mixed messages. Right now, to your point,
Yeah.
it's like right now, what kids out there thinking, man, I can't wait to be a police officer?
Oh, very little.
Or at certain times, you know,
few
with
of
the
them.
wildland fire sheriff, I can't wait to be a firefighter when they were getting blamed for not responding a certain way. It's like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
or, well, the doctors and the nurses are saying that you know, COVID isn't a real thing. Fuck them. You know, what do they know? Well, they've been to medical school and they've got a lot of training and they've got a shit ton of hours figuring it out. You should probably listen to what they're saying.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
Right.
you know, one of the topics of Paul's discussion he has is like what to believe anymore, right?
Right, 'cause
It's
there's
a
so
lot
much
of,
noise.
It's a lot of noise, a lot of manipulative information out there, and you get manipulated through the media, and it's a lot of information coming from all ends that you just don't know what to take in anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if there is an unbiased media source
Exactly,
that
you know, so-
can deliver you just facts and have you develop your own opinion on
Yeah,
it.
and nowadays, all you have going around you is somebody pointing the finger at each other on, oh, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. It's just somebody trying to prove that they're right, or not even that they're right. It's that somebody else is wrong.
Right.
So there's a lot of, you know,
Correct.
oh, you're
Yeah,
wrong,
sorry.
you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, and blah blah blah. So there's a lot of just negativity when it comes to the media in general, to the information. You don't see anything positive anymore. You just
Yeah.
see, oh, somebody did something wrong, and let's just burn them to the stake. You know, let's just.
Well, it's easy to do behind a keyboard
It's-
too.
exactly.
You wouldn't say that to somebody's face.
No, it's very easy to be.
No,
once
you'd
again,
probably get
let's go
punched
back
in
to
the
the
face.
phone
Yeah.
or to social media or to whatever tool you have in front of you, right? Or even the media itself, whatever news channels you watch. It's a lot of just pointing fingers and
Yeah.
voiding people and just canceling people left, right, because it's an easy thing to do. It's very easy to generate turmoil, right? It's easy to destroy. It's very hard to build.
And kind of like we were talking about earlier, it's like if I'm busy fixing you or attacking you or looking at you, I'm intrinsically not looking at myself.
Exactly.
And not looking at my own deficiencies.
Yeah, so it's hard to know what to believe anymore and what information to take in right now, especially with so much going on all over the country. You know, dude, we're in Portland right now. I live 3 hours away north, right? I lived in Portland. I know what Portland is about, but now I'm 3 hours away north of Seattle. From what we hear up there, Portland is burnt to the ground. Portland is like it's goddamn The Walking
Nuclear
Dead, right?
wasteland.
Yeah. We hear that Portland is a scene out of 28 Days Later, right? It's like buildings are torn down, you know, things are all over the place. You got people on fire running the streets.
Yeah.
It's a freaking jungle down here. And then I come down here to see you guys and hang out. I drive through downtown, and it's just business as usual. Yeah,
Right.
things are closed down. COVID has a hit in in all of this, but it's like, dude, hasn't really changed much. You have your normal bums, you know, some zombies walking around, and that's Portland is still Portland.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing with Seattle. Down here, I'm pretty sure you guys here, you know, Seattle has this known, like whatever the name was, the
Chaz.
Chaz
the
zone.
Chaz,
People are
the
killing each
Chaz,
other
yeah.
in there. Yeah, they're stabbing bodies and throwing them over the fence.
Right.
No, man,
Yeah.
Seattle is
Pikes
just
Market fell into the ocean.
no,
Yeah.
it's still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
Life's business as usual, you know.
Yeah.
And for us, it's kind of hard because, like Paul and myself, we're in a business that we wake up in the morning, we put our boots on, we put our blues on, we go to work. We're in this bubble that things don't really change that much for us.
Right.
Like we're in this thing that,
Yeah.
like life doesn't, like, dude, life hasn't been affected for me at
Yeah.
work.
Well, you're an essential service as
Yeah.
as dictated by basically every state, every governor,
So
every
the only
yeah.
thing that changed for us that sucks is the PPE we got to wear.
Yeah, that's miserable.
Right.
It's miserable, right? Got to wear that goddamn hazmat suit every time you go for some old lady that fell down.
Yep.
But that's the only thing that sucks. But besides that, we're
You still
very
get to go hang out with your buddies.
we get to dude. It's very hard to come back. If I had a girl at the time or somebody that I'm home that works the private sector, you'd be very hard to come home.
Yeah.
When she lost her job,
Right.
To say my job is freaking awesome. I hang out with my boys. I would have to downplay a million
Yeah.
times how my job. Oh no, yeah, baby, it sucks. So we're in this bubble that hasn't really been affected, and that's why we can still take advantage of that community that we have.
Yeah.
Because we have this cause, right? This goal, this common
team goal.
this team goal of like taking care of our community. And the same thing goes with the military, with police. There's a goal at the end of all this. There's a cause, right? So we can all take advantage of this brotherhood, of this family aspect that we have inside, where the private sector, where you are right now, is a dog-eat-dog world.
It sucks.
It sucks, and
Yeah.
especially now with everything going on and places closing
Sucks
down.
more.
And
Yeah.
you don't know if you're going to be open tomorrow
Yeah.
or ever.
We're not open
again.
right now.
It's just that it just becomes, to each its own.
Right.
So you really can take advantage of that aspect, whether you're CrossFit and you're all for the same cause, quote unquote, of people getting healthy. No, man, that gets thrown out the window. Now
Yeah.
it's like, I'll stab you in the back, you stab me in the back, I'll take your clients, you
Right.
take my clients. It's just survival mode.
I hadn't
Primal.
really thought about it until you just brought that up, but it was, looking back on it, it's been kind of interesting setting up for a fitness event and going out and looking for sponsorship
Yeah.
to fitness facilities and nutritional stores.
Is it
And
hard?
now looking back reflectively at that, and and analyzing some of the responses that I got with what you said, I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
people wanting like to be exclusive.
Yep.
I'm like, nah, dude, this is to help out the firefighters. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally we don't ask for help. This is kind of like help us out a little bit to do a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we want the exclusive contract to be your guys' sponsor. I was like,
Really?
No thanks.
Just because they want their name on the spotlight and nobody
they
else.
didn't want
Correct.
they didn't want
They
the
don't want the
competition.
competition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting to me. And it's
Yeah.
probably why, people look at me like, well, you're not a very good businessman. Like, oh, okay. I mean, I okay.
Well, I
that's
don't
fine.
remember
Maybe I'm not as successful as quote unquote successful as I could be.
You don't come from
but
a
I'm not
corporate
close
background.
either. Well, that's the thing. It's like
You come from
my
a team's
mindset's
background. You come from like you're in the team. Like it doesn't matter the what we have in front of us.
Right.
I'll scratch your back. You scratch my back because there's no better feeling than having a team behind you and you to be there for the team.
Well, as a part of it, it's
As a
like, and
part
I
of
don't
it.
want to do everything.
Exactly.
It's to that example with the fitness challenge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I had parts that I wanted to do, and the
Right.
parts that I liked doing, and then there were other people that stepped up and took up other parts.
Yeah.
That's how a team works. I
Right.
mean, whether it's football, basketball, I mean, short of golf, maybe tennis.
That's not a sport.
That's our next podcast episode. Defining golf as a sport or a hobby. But I mean, short of those purely individual or swimming, even, if I'm a lineman, I got to do my job so that the pretty guy behind me can throw the ball, or the other guy can run it, or the other guy can catch it. But if I don't do my job, we're all screwed. So the other 10 guys are fucked because I didn't do my job. But
Right.
if they don't do their job, then I'm fine. And that's where I just don't understand why more businesses don't think that way, in the sense of like, hey, there's that saying, the rising tide lifts all ships. Kind of true, unless you're tied to the dock and then you get swamped. But you got to be able to free yourself to be able to move with the water, right? So it's like, Bruce Lee, be like water.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a big rock. I could go through it. I could push it. I could roll it over, or I go around it. It's like there's a lot of different ways to do that. And I don't want to be the one-stop shop for everything for everybody. I like what I do, and I like the things that we do. There's things that, it's kind of like you with chest day. We both fucking hate chest day, but we know we have to do it because we got to be good at it because it's important. But it's stupid, but we still have to do it.
Show
there's
muscles.
Show muscles. There's still
right.
stuff like that you have to do. But I like that there are other people that enjoy that, that maybe don't enjoy the stuff that I like to do. And if we can work together, I mean, I'm trying to think of something that would be the opposite of like our like the three of us tend to do a lot of functional fitness, right? Metcon stuff, intervals, breathing, things like that. What
Right.
we don't, I mean, the three of us haven't been hanging out at a hot yoga studio, right? That would probably be the opposite of what we do on a regular basis.
Correct.
I appreciate what it does, and I know that it works for some people. And if it does work for somebody that I can help, I'm going to send them there.
Yep.
I don't want to be a hot yoga instructor, right? Not that there's, I just don't. It's not fun for me. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good for me. It
smells bad.
It smells different. Some people like it.
Different.
It smells different.
Smells bad. Yes, different.
But to the point of like my mindset's like, no, I want to be really good at the things that I like doing. I want to be proficient in the things I don't like doing so that I can, be successful. But if there's somebody that loves that component, I want them to do that component.
Yeah.
I don't want to do everything. And I just don't understand. And that's why, I mean, you saw it, with trying to find your sponsorships. It's really hard to get people outside of that world to think that way.
Yeah.
And then and the bigger bridge that, kind of, I guess, altruistically is, it's still us and them, even though I'm not in the world with you guys with the civil service side. And there are more former civil servants than active, right? You get your time, you get your turn, and then you either age out, injury out, or move out, right? And eventually you're not in it, but you're still part of it. You still have that mindset, but there's still very much a gap between, I don't know, we'll call them civilians, right?
Yeah.
And then the civil service minded individuals. And what sucks is that there's not a great bridge of conversation to get them to understand why we want to do things the way we do them and think about them the way they do, and then vice versa. I mean, I put my hand up first and foremost, be like, what the fuck is that person think? That guy's an idiot. The stupid civilian, blah, 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 blah. I mean, we've all said it because you'll see it and you get in that mindset of just like, what a freaking moron, right?
Yep.
But it's like, oh shit, no, they're not. It's just, they just don't know any better yet.
Yeah.
And they haven't.
It's just the mentality that you come from. You come from the better service. You come from a service mentality, right? So
Right.
you come to what's the best for that person in front of me. And a lot of it comes from we're all in a union, so our paychecks are going to be the same no matter what. It's really going to depend on how much overtime
Right.
you work or not. If Paul and I work for the same department and we're the same time in. I know how much he makes. He knows how much I make.
Right.
Our determination for a patient as outcome is not driven by how much money we're making, right? So for us, we get to pick whatever's the best for that person,
Right.
Because money doesn't drive our decisions.
No, not at all. You didn't become a firefighter for the paycheck.
Exactly. It's nice. Nobody likes to
No.
work for free, and so it's nice to make what we get paid,
Right.
which is I'm very fortunate, very very happy about it. But we don't get in for the pay, so you get in for all the other aspects that come involved in it. So as I was saying, our determination for somebody that is in front of us, it doesn't come from a financial motivator, right? Where the private sector, it comes from that. Like that person in front of me that walked through those doors, I got to lock that person in.
Right.
Right, because that's a
Gotta
reoccurring
make the sale.
income. Yeah, he's gonna be
Coffees for closers.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock that person into a 12 month membership, reoccurring income, and you don't come from that. You come from you have the mentality of what's best for that person. So if what you offer here is not the best for them, you're gonna send them to where it is.
Right.
And that's where other people around you are going to say, oh, you're not a good businessman because you're sending clients away.
For sure. I get that all the time. Like, oh, you do better if you did this with marketing. I don't want to.
No, but
Like,
at the same time,
I
you
just don't
have
want to.
people in here that are unhappy to be here, and now they're locked into a membership, and they don't want to be here. They don't want to come in. When they come, they bring a negative energy, and
Right.
it just drives your place down because then it's contagious.
And then they, and I mean, you guys have seen this in multiple aspects. They get a bad taste in their mouth
Yep.
for what it is that fitness is,
Yep.
right? It's like that's why you have so many people start and stop. That's why, which is going to be interesting about this post COVID. Well, it will never be post COVID. It's just like there's BC, and then AC
After COVID and
before COVID and after COVID. When we're in year 12 AC after COVID. What is fitness going to look like? Is it going to be the big box gym where you get the big turnover and the churn rate, right? Or is it going to be, because that's really hard to control, and that's obviously been the first thing that's been shut down all over the place, and everybody gets up in arms about, the big box gyms are closed, and they're going to be epicenters for this. I'm like, yeah, but what about the smaller gyms that are more personalized to where it's like, hey, I'm a square peg, and I'm going to go work out in the place that's got other square pegs because that's the square peg place, versus the round hole place versus the triangles or whatever.
Yeah.
And is it going to be more of a personalized experience, or is that the way the industry shifts? Because what Peloton and anybody on Craigslist with a dumbbell right now wants to tell you is like, no one's ever going back to a gym. They're all going to work out from home. We're all going to be digitally linked. It's like, yes, there will be people that will find fitness through that, and it'll be awesome because they're getting off their ass instead of sitting on their couch.
Yep.
But there are people literally every day like, hey, if I don't tell anybody, can I come in? No, you can't, because I don't want a $90,000 fine from OSHA.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but the point is that it's not the fitness for them that's important. It needs to be a quality product. It needs to be something that's healthy and sustainable for them, and not just some bullshit program. But it's the community, right?
Yeah.
It's the people.
I was
need
about
it.
to say, I'll be the first to admit that I would never be able to do a home gym.
No.
My
My home gym would have you guys open my
engineer,
house.
my driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. It's
What do
my
you-
home. Get everybody come in.
Yeah, come on
What do
over.
you guys call them up there for your driver position?
Like engineers?
Are they engineers?
Just driver, but
Driver.
Yeah, driver.
Well, some people
Chauffeur,
call them chauffeurs.
Uber.
My driver likes to be called the chauff dog. I don't.
the
It's
Uber.
weird, but he has a home gym, and he
Nick?
is yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right. He's
Super
really
dude,
nice,
badass gym. Yeah.
and he's consistent with it, and he can do that. I don't have that kind of motivation or drive, so I pay to come to a gym
Yeah.
membership and be around people and be forced to do the things that I don't want to do because I
Yeah.
know it's going to make my career longer and then life in general better.
Yeah, look good, feel good.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that's like. And
So I don't think you're going to find that many people with that unique drive.
I don't
that
think
are going to
so
be able
either.
to be successful. at a
Right.
good
Dude,
gym.
I don't have
and
it.
sustainable.
No.
Like and the nice thing too is it's like, if you find your right group, you find your family, right? You find
Yeah.
your people, you find your others that, like you and I, or the three of us, we don't have to go chat it up during a workout. We can fucking hammer it, say 5 words, listen to whatever we're going to listen to, and be like, man, that was fucking great. And we bond, like we had that shared experience,
yeah,
right?
100%.
And it's the shared experience that is the language
the
of fitness
suck.
love. But it's that's what works, right? And then, but finding that place for you, sometimes it takes a little trial and error. But I the hard part is, and I guess what's really tough in the fitness industry is that everybody is constantly beaconing that they are the answer, they are the place, they are, we'll get people walking here, man, I really need somebody to kick my ass. I'm like, well, I can tell you the program is going to kick your ass, but if you're looking for boot camp, somebody to scream at you and externally motivate you, that ain't us. We got a bunch of parents who are, some are crazy fit athletes and some just don't want to have a heart attack and be able to have their happy hour. It's like they've got 3 kids, they're they want to be around till they're 90, they want to be fit, and be able to, and they can do some amazing shit. And and some of them have the full on like 6 packs and just super jacked and can do cool shit and high speed shit, and that's awesome too, because it's what they want to do, not because it's what is being force fed them. But there's so many places. It's why I envy you guys with fire in particular, because you've all got the same mission, but like everybody's got their own job. You're just talking about it. You got an engineer. What's an engineer? He drives a truck. Well, how come that guy doesn't drive the truck? Because that's not his job right now. His job right now is to pull the hose. Who's that guy? That's the probie. He does everything. It's like
he cleans the bathrooms.
He cleans the bathrooms. He shines the wheels. He decons our suits. But it's like everybody's got their role towards the team where the truck is all going forward in the same direction. And that's with the fitness side. It's why we get along so well, because you've got your background. You're more kind of the wrestling, you can do some shit that like fucking no way I could ever do that, but then like we hop on a rower and it's like, well, okay, now it's neutralized, you've got
this tall lanky guy over here.
Right. So I mean, it's like we've all got a balance, and it's like, as a team, fuck yeah, we kick ass, we do really well, and we're also capable of helping more people because we don't think any one of us has the answer to one thing. And it's like, hey, cool. Hey, you want to talk about oil lifting? Yeah, let's grab Leo, or let's grab Wolf, or let's, hey, you want to talk about bench press? Don't talk to us, But it's, if you want to squat, I got a guy for that. It's and just taking that mindset into everything we've been talking about of like, hey, mental health, mental fitness, that's my personal term, what I use, what you use, they might be different, but the end goal is that we're all, better people, better friends, better spouses, better partners, better what, less assholes, or just your kind of asshole, because, everybody needs their share of that. But it's just,
the end goal
it's hard to have that conversation with a lot of people.
The end goal is to grow, right? Whether you're working out, trying to grow, trying to get bigger, better, buffer, whatever it is, better times, better numbers, or whether you're working on your mental fitness to grow the muscle in your head. You want to grow, and you want to grow with the times. Times change, and you should change too, right? So as you progress in life, you should progress as a person as well, and you should show up better as a person in relationships in general. At the relationship with yourself, which should come first, and then after that, the relationship with your closest friends, with the family that you have, if it's blood and you love them, by all means, show up better to them. And then the family that you get to pick, or that has picked you, which is our fire family. I want to show up better to them, which are my friends, guys like you, guys that are my close clique. I want to show up better to them, right? And I want to show up better to every relationship, and to a significant other, to my friends, to the guy that I say hi to at the grocery store. I want to show up better to that person. Right, so that's the goal, is to grow, and however we get there is how we gotta find that path. Whatever works for you might not work for me, but I will share with you what you share with me. And with Paul, we're all gonna sit here and share. We're all gonna have a workout, get down on the floor, breathe heavy for 10 minutes, sit up and talk a little bit, and share what works for each other, so I can use the tools that you have maybe to add it to my toolbox. Right, and we can all use that to grow better and not stand still like a rock now, because times will pass, and next thing you know, you look back and you never grew. And I did that for the longest time in my life. I spent a lot of time not growing. I spent a lot of time staying still.
And I mean, Paul, you can chime in, with your upbringing, but it's like, I feel like every male role model, whether it was active or passive, that I ever had was, I am the stoic mountain, I am the rock, I do not move, I am formidable, I will always be strong and tough, and I am always right here in the exact same fucking position.
No. I had a couple of those, but then also my dad, who was very, very much open and willing to talk about feelings, and
that wasn't my dad. That's fantastic.
Like formative experiences from my childhood that I still remember, that shaped me for who I am today. One of them being, my dad worked for the employment service. He had a customer come in, obviously homeless, disheveled, dirty, gross-looking hands, right? And my dad walked up, shook his hand, how are you doing? Treated him
like a person,
like every other human being. And I just remember that experience, seeing that happen, and it's always stuck with me too.
I mean, I'm sure that turned into a lot of who you are today, especially with a career that you've picked.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that shapes you. That turns your
Was a-
your bandwidth towards it.
A perfect transition into compassion fatigue and,
Right.
and burnout in the job,
Yeah.
which was one of the primary driving forces as to why I switched departments.
Okay.
Being able to recognize that in myself and like it's getting more difficult for me in the middle of the night to get out of the I can't believe we're going on this person again, this is dumb, and switch that into just being positive and treating somebody
Yeah.
with the respect that they deserve.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta change.
So you call
Yeah.
that compassion fatigue.
Compassion fatigue, yeah.
They're like
Burnout.
desensitizing, kind of like getting
Uh-huh.
you're shut off, you're turned off, like feelings wise, as far as
Yeah.
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 That happens. They can happen quick.
Well, I know. I mean, I hear that on the blue side a lot because it's like, fuck, here we are on the same call, the same, especially, you know, you reference Portland. I mean, we got a couple buddies down in Portland, PD. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, returning customers, right? You know, and they use terms like customer service and things like that. It's like, right, well, I got a returning customer. What are they doing? Well, they're doing the same thing they've always been doing, you know, and it's just like, I can't care anymore. And
roll
that,
your eyes and like it's another routine.
well,
like
and then you get
little
complacent,
BS.
right?
Exactly.
And
That's
it's,
when
you
the
know,
shit
and I mean,
happens.
and that's when you get hurt or when somebody gets hurt or the
Yeah.
situation changes
Right.
and escalates and it's like, oh, now that because I wasn't sharp, this isn't good.
Or in our cases, when we start overseeing things that are important, right? Because a lot of 99% of our job is EMS,
Right.
right? So we're EMS
Missing a
guys
sign.
that kind of play with fire sometimes. But for us, like you see so many frequent flyers or so many of the same, that you get complacent and you start overseeing things that, oh, they're just crying wolf again. So when it's time that something's really popping off, it goes right over your head because you think, oh, this is just routine, and you
Right.
miss like the big
Big
things,
sign.
the big signs because you're just like, all right, man, hop in the ambulance, let's just get the hell out of here, let's go, let's move, let's make moves quick, right? Because you want to go back to bed,
Right.
and you miss when it's the actual real deal, you miss it because you're so desensitized to
Right.
it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you got to, yeah.
So you changed departments specifically because you identified that, or
It was a big factor for sure.
were you the first one to notice it yourself, or did somebody else notice it,
I mean,
or combination?
for sure, probably a combination, but I'm sure other people noticed it. Is when you're going home and tired and grouchy and cranky, and then
Right.
that's bleeding over into your home life.
Yep.
Life has been much better outside of work since the change.
Right.
That's how I'd put it best. But that brings me, yeah, I listed this whole topic as, you know, life as a pessimist and how our jobs kind of shape a little bit of us in that we see the worst in humanity on a
Yeah.
daily basis.
Right. They're not
I
calling you
think-
for a birthday party.
No, and I would say
Sometimes a quinceañera, but
law enforcement way more than the fire service for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's because we got to make sure everything's secure first before you guys get in there to do your thing.
you're always lied to.
That too.
That's what I mean. Like you are consistently lied to. So at face value, when you got to see somebody, you're like, he's lying,
Right.
right?
you're immediately skeptical, right?
How many people have you seen wake up from Narcan that told you,
Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah,
Yeah.
I took a bunch of heroin, I overdosed.
None.
No.
Zero.
Hey, what happened?
No,
Like,
you always-
you were dead, bro. We basically just brought you up from the dead. No, I didn't do anything. What's in your system? Nothing. A couple beers.
Yeah, you ask them, like, yeah, exactly. Like, did you do drugs? I'm like, nope,
Nah,
nothing,
never.
And part of that goes back to me realizing that I was, you know, developing an issue, is that you can sit in the back and argue with that person and berate them and like, you're a liar, right?
Yeah.
We gave you this drug. You were dead. We're doing compressions on you. You know, we saved your life. Or you can have some compassion for them and realize that being mean to them isn't going to be good for you or them.
100%.
Or you could try and find that compassion and be like, what's going on in your life to get you to where you're at right
and it's
now?
hard,
And
man.
I can't imagine
yeah.
that you want to be in the back of this ambulance right now.
It's a hard place. It's a hard place to be where Paul was, and it's hard to realize it, and sometimes it's hard to have that compassion too. It's hard to like put yourself in check. You know, it's like step back and like, or have, you know, if you have a good crew with you that knows you and like you guys are dialed in together, be like, hey, bud, get out, I got this one. Right? It's like, hey, you want to drive this one? I'll take it from back here. Because like they can smell it on you, right? They can see it.
Right.
Or
just
like-
the way you interact with the
Or like,
patient.
oh, you have a safe word,
yeah.
you know, like a word between each other. It's like, hey, man, whatever, pineapple.
Pineapple.
Yeah, whatever the hell, right? Whatever it is, Trump. Bring
Wait.
whatever word it is that just gives you that. Okay, let me step back, woosah, count to 10, and let me track back how I'm reacting to this person or how I'm carrying this call here, right?
Yeah.
And it's a tough place for Paul to be in. Props to him for realizing and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's why I think the job had definitely shaped me in that direction. To where it's like everybody, basically, you figure they all did drugs until the blood work proves otherwise.
Right.
Right. I remember talking to my driver, and when he was a brand new medic, and his trainer's like, "Well, what do you think's going on with him? Do you think they overdosed?" He's like, "No, I asked him and they said no." Right?
Oh, you're cute.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just being
Look at the
naive
puppy.
and new.
I believe him.
Yeah. So you
Did you poop on the floor? No.
Whose poop is this all over the wall?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was here when I came in. No, it's yours. What is it in your face?
right.
It's art.
So I had living as a pessimist is generally thought of as being negative, but also I think
Yeah.
there's probably some positive things in there, like you're saying, not missing things or catching
The
things.
complacency, yeah.
Right, and being able though to compartmentalize that and apply it to your customers in a respectful way,
Right.
but then not take that back to one, your coworkers, and then also to your family. It's like,
Yeah.
what's one of the sayings we have in the fire service is trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so
Right.
you're checking out the medical equipment in the rig the next morning, and it's like, oh, they forgot to restock this.
Yeah.
It's like you could be mad about it or have some humility
Yeah.
and realize that
do your
I'm
job.
gonna mess up in the future too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So give them a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder when you have a very close friend or significant other for me to give them that break, because I feel like I'm hypercritical at times.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah.
And it's easier to take it out on them because they have to be with you.
Especially now under quarantine.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I can't leave. I can't go anywhere.
You're
Right.
trapped.
So that's something
Dude.
that
Yeah, make or break.
yeah, you definitely feel like you're talking about always working to better yourself for tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's one of those things for me that I was like, how do you take that and apply it to family life?
Yeah, this is what Paul was saying too. Is that and I mentioned this in the beginning. Is that it doesn't matter. Our job is pretty awesome. What we get to do, right? It's pretty awesome. We get to for the most part, work with a lot of cool people, right? So it's very easy to justify being at work.
Right.
Like it's very easy to justify
Easy to go to work.
To go to work,
Yeah,
it's very
yeah.
easy to say, I'm gonna get that overtime tomorrow, and
Uh-huh.
just work there. And so it's very easy to spend a lot of time at work, broing out with the guys, having the cool meals and the cool workouts and the cool talks. But at the same time, you are gonna take that work home.
Right.
So it's so easy to justify, going there. That it's just gonna be with you 24/7. Doesn't matter how much you leave it behind when you drive away from the station and go home. It's gonna be with you, and it's not you're gonna be at home talking to your wife about fire trucks and pumping, but it's just how you operate as a person is gonna be with you, right? And that desensitizing, that emotional fatigue, everything that comes in, obviously at home is gonna get brought up. Because he's bringing that home with him.
Right.
So it's going to be brought up by whether it's family, significant other, kids. Somebody's going to be like, hey, man, like, what's up?
Yeah.
And if it's somebody that you're dialed in with, like a significant other that calls you up on your shit, it's going to be like, hey, dude, you're
You're being an asshole.
being an asshole. You're
Yeah.
off. You're not the same. That something's going on. Like, I think you need check yourself. And that's when all the what we covered, that toolbox of mental fitness comes in hand. Right, open that toolbox up. What tools am I going to use to start kind of get working on that check engine light here? I need an assessment. I need to run the codes here to see what the bandwidth I'm
Yeah.
giving more.
What's triggering this anxiety?
I'm giving too many fucks out of my day to
Yeah.
something in particular that I need to be pulling back out of, right?
Yeah.
And that's where Paul started to realize, like, I need to get out of here. I need to find somewhere where my mental fitness, I am a priority. And if I'm a priority, I show up better to my
for you.
relationship at home, to
Yeah.
myself. And then once again, bleeds over to our conversation. I show up to people around me better.
Yeah.
To all my relationships. I mean, I'm sure he's you switch the crews, right? Obviously, he switched the crews from one department to another. I'm sure he shows up better to the crew now that he's with than he would have been showing up to the crew that he was with at the same time now if he had kept on with the previous department, if he had stayed. He's a better man now to the crew that he's with now.
Right.
Even if you take the same crew now and put it at the previous department, within like the 2, 3, 5 years he's been with now, just because of the fatigue, just the
Right.
toll
Yeah.
that how much he's paying to get paid. right? And now he shows up better at home. He shows up better here. He shows up better to his community, around the gym, around his house, to his family. It's all this. Like I said, it's a snowflake.
Yeah.
Comes in, builds the snowball, and then it's an avalanche. You can be an avalanche of good or bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I look at that, and then I look at it. It's been an interesting 9 years, 11 months, and 25, whatever day it is. My daughter's birthday is in a month, and she'll be 10.
Nice. Man.
I am,
Congrats.
and I guarantee my wife, my stepkids, my parents, my brother, everybody who knew me beforehand would say, you are not the same human
Yeah.
that you were a decade ago.
Uh-huh.
You know, and even before that, you know, when I was married with the stepkids, I was different. I'm not gonna say worse. You know, I'm not gonna say better. I always try to not be as much of an asshole, but it's like maybe I'm just a different kind of asshole now. You know, it's like okay, but you know, the having the responsibility of another person to be responsible for. And then 2, you know, so like
Yeah.
right now I'm responsible for Gabby, and so is, you know, so is my wife and I, right? We have a person that we're responsible for,
Right.
but eventually we're going to be responsible to her because she'll be responsible for herself, right? You know, and I
Yeah.
see that like the way my dad's a good example of this. Good news is I don't know that he knows how to work a podcast, so he probably won't ever hear this, let alone be on social media. But like I remember growing up and I'm like, God, my dad's such a fucking asshole, like fucking asshole. Always at fucking practice at 4:00, like, you know, or games or whatever, you know, his JV and watching shit. It's like he's gone at work at 4 a.m. and he's always at the goddamn school, you know, he's always there. Blah, 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 blah.
Uh-huh.
The older I get, the smarter my parents were.
Yep.
Like, it's just like, God damn it.
No,
I
for
was a
sure.
fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get it. You know, now that's not to say dad was warm and fuzzy.
That's
it's like,
a pretty like around the globe narrative that you
Yeah,
hear, right?
right.
Like people
If-
are just like, I hated my parents.
Yeah.
And that, now they're older, or you become a parent, like,
Oh,
I
shit.
was an idiot.
You know?
they are the best parents, or they're the best people in the world.
they
They're
did the
like,
best job
"Thank you."
with the hardest case I
Yeah.
know of. I am
Yep.
the hardest person to deal with that I know
You
of.
still
you know?
are, yeah.
I don't know. You know, I'm still working on how to deal with
They either
myself.
didn't do that much of a good job because you're still kind of an asshole. But,
Or they did a great job because I'm your kind of
They
asshole.
gotta
See,
keep-
that's
they gotta
the-
keep working.
Exactly. But that's the thing. It's like looking backwards to look forwards is like, oh, okay. And not, whether dad would have articulated or not, you know, it's like I found my love of fitness because of my parents.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't touch weights until really college. You know,
Yeah.
it was like dad's like, and it was, you know, whether it's martial arts or going to Golds or whatever with dad, it's like, can you do push-ups? Can you do dips? Can you do pull-ups? No, then you can't touch weights. You know, or if you need to touch weights, it's gonna be light and it's gonna be functional. You know, it's
Yeah.
like so all these things that at the time I'm like, God damn, I just want to bench press because I see
Right.
all these other guys doing this, that, the other.
Yeah.
And, you know, dad was crazy fucking strong.
Yeah.
You know, you just sit there and rep out stuff on bench. You know, it's like I still can't do the math
Dude,
fast
that's
enough.
still an animal, dude. I remember coaching
yeah.
him here. Like he was
Oh.
he's all banged up, all broken,
but-
all damaged,
yeah,
but
he-
he's still, dude, getting it.
In his mind, he's still 30 and has functional joints. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like no.
He
'cause-
walked in the doors, put some WD-40, and he's good to go.
right? But that's the thing. It's like looking back, it's like, oh, I get that now. It's like, fuck, I wish
Yeah.
I'd have appreciated it more when I was in the moment. And so
Yeah.
I do try with my daughter. There's times, and I'm not perfect. It's like, you know, I'll pop off or, you know, whatever, but
Yeah.
I always apologize.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, I can own my shit. I know I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be the best dad I can be for you, but not your best friend. And sometimes those two don't go hand in hand. That's kind of hard to articulate to a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, when she wants a pony. And it's like, fuck. But I think that the honesty there and the being able to have the conversation is most of the guys like Ryan, our buddy Ryan, you know, he's got a daughter who's 4 and we're about the same age, you know, we both have stepkids. Like there's a whole different dynamic to
Yeah.
guys our age now with being able to have those conversations around our families and around our kids and stuff to where it's like, oh, I don't have to be the mountain and the rock that doesn't move and is stoic and all the knowledge is contained within. It's like, no. You know, again, be like water. I try to be more adaptable. I try to be more mobile in my articulating of my feelings. It might not be the feelings you want me to feel right now,
Yeah.
i.e. you don't want to hear what I have to say, but this is what's going on, you know? And I think for me, where you guys have the advantage, you know, somebody on shift, you got 4 of you on shift. At any given chance, one of the 3 of them is going to at least be able to put up with your bullshit, right?
Right.
When you're married at home, you got a 1-for-1. If they're not in the mood, shit. You know, it's like, who am I going to talk to about this, right? And so for me, instead of internalizing it, I kind of, and it took some conversations with my brother and my adopted little brother to kind of get back to finding how can I fix some shit with me That's not the responsibility of my wife, and it's definitely not the responsibility of my 9-year-old, because it's
Right.
easy to get, and I can see this with a lot of parents, and I knew I wouldn't do this when I had a kid, and I've done a pretty good job so far, knock on wood, of living vicariously through my kid. I want to provide her opportunities, but if she's going to fall on her face, I want her to fall hard, so she learns how to not fall next time, right? And I don't want to manipulate her experience because of that, but that also means I can't utilize her as an emotional outlet for me to fix my own shit. And that's a hard thing to do. Again, public sector, you guys got a crew, private sector. I don't have anybody in business I can talk to.
Right.
I don't have anybody at work that I can talk to. I am my work. It's like I've
Right.
got, and I can't talk to people that I'm working out with or
Well,
members or
and
whatever,
you-
because like they're customers. Like you can't do that.
You
know?
have to come here and put on that face.
Oh, I'm a
yeah.
dancing bear with
It's a mask.
symbols, like
Yeah.
at various different times, and I won't say which times, just so they don't know that they're the ones that I have to perform for. But it's like
Right.
feeling that it's like, where am I gonna and I did and I think of the three of us in particular, I'm a workaholic because I like it. I like to work. I
Same.
like to be busy. I like big projects. I like to
Yeah.
just bury myself in stuff because it's fun. It's fun to go to work. It's fun to go on shift. It's fun to do all that stuff. But what are you not doing? And for me, it was like I just kept putting shit in a box or the apple in the backpack.
Yeah.
Right.
And then my wife's like, why are you having a fucking anxiety attack?
Yeah.
She doesn't know that there's all this shit.
Right.
And it's like, and that's my fault. It's not anybody else's fault but my own. But I didn't do a very good job for a very long time, especially going into the private sector where it's like, ugh,
Yeah.
holy shit, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I'm jumping out of the plane. Do I have a parachute on? I think so. It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Hope for the best. Jesus, take the wheel.
right, yeah, Jesus, take the wheel, right? I kind of like that because if there's no tightrope, then you got to be really fucking good.
Yeah.
And you got to work really fucking hard. And
But the work ethics kind of take you through it,
Right.
Like knowing that you're a workhorse, that you're gonna be just
Right.
The work doesn't scare you.
the work doesn't
Right,
scare me,
yeah.
but
It's just the knowledge of
to Paul's credit of having the foresight to see that the compassion fatigue, it's like
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I still do things, but I might not give a fuck as much as I did, but I get it done. Well, is the quality there?
Yeah.
And that might not be work related. It might be personal. It might be
Yeah.
relationship related. I can guarantee I was not as awesome as a husband as I could have been because I was pissed off about whatever, right? Or
Right.
or I'm carrying this weight from a previous life, or all.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing that, honest to God, the best thing that happened to me, it's coming up on 24 years now, was having my knee replaced. Living,
Force you to slow down.
it not just forced me to slow down. It was more that I wasn't literally waking up in every single step in constant pain
Oh.
and feeling like shit and I did not really realize how much that was wearing on
Were
me.
you taking any kind of painkillers at all? Were
No,
you on
because
that,
they don't
on that
work.
Train or
They
no?
didn't
Okay.
work. What I utilized almost exclusively once it kind of got through that whole thing, it's like, hey, try Tramadol for 12 months, all that kind of shit. It's like Celebrex the first time. Oh, your liver's
Yeah.
not working too well. Stop that. They didn't really work. What really worked were nerve blocks and getting epidurals and shots. And so I lived by the needle. I mean, my last year before my knee replacement, I had, I think it was 10 epidurals.
Oh my god, dude, that's horrible.
And then I went through all the stem cell stuff and the
Yeah.
Prolo, and I mean, I was a pincushion and test case with my knee.
Yeah.
And yeah, it hurt, and those were kind of band-aids, and they hurt less, but it was still constant pain. Well, fuck, man, I was just an asshole. Like it wasn't.
for
I
sure.
wasn't
Can't imagine,
fun to be around.
How can you be happy about life
Right.
or anything?
Anybody that
Like,
knows me now, they're like, "Oh, well, this is happier." It's like, "Well, yeah."
It's, it's
yeah.
one of Paul's topics. It's like living life as a pessimist. It's like
Right.
I can imagine you going through that patch of your life as the glass is kind of half empty right here.
I blew my knee out the day after high school graduation, right?
dude.
So I've had more than half of my life post-op, and it's like it's like death by a thousand cuts, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't. I mean, there were a few that were like, "Hey, you're gonna die." Fuck, that sucks, But I didn't, and then it's like, okay, well, here's the consequences of your survival, and weird way around. It's why I do take the COVID stuff so seriously, because you've got people that, yeah, you got better and you're fine, but now you've got this lifelong, whether it's respiratory or blood pressure, you're gonna have this weight on you.
Right.
You might not be able to shake. I got my knee cut out and I got new, plastic and titanium put in. So it doesn't work like the first one, but there's no more pain. And I can function. I can't do things, I can't run, I can't jump, I can't, play soccer or whatever like my daughter would want me to do, but I don't hurt.
Right.
And I feel better.
Pain is an interesting.
It's
interesting
fascinating.
thing.
It's fascinating how you can
Yeah.
adapt to it too, right? And so you look at the guys like, you got compassion fatigue for it. It's like, well, what drugs are you on? Well, okay, why? It's like,
Yeah.
well, you're utilizing it to offset some kind of pain. Maybe it's psychological or maybe it's physiological. A lot of people get on, various different drugs,
Right.
whether it's prescribed or not, because hey, I've got pain management issues, big time.
Yeah.
Well, that shit is fucking real, and anybody that says it's not, they just haven't fucking been hurt yet. You know, it's like you don't get it.
Man,
Like,
we know, I'm sure Paul, all three of us here, we've been in the, somewhat active for the majority of our lives, right? So there's always going to be like a ding here.
Right.
There's always going to be an
Yep.
injury. There's always going to be fighting
Tweaks.
tweaks.
Yeah.
So there's a nag that goes
Right.
around, right? It's going to be in your shoulder today. Then your shoulder feels better. The nags move down to your hip.
Yeah.
Then it moves to your back. It just keeps going around your body, right? So, but like Paul was said, man, like pain can be it's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
Because pain, like the moment I have a small little nag, a small little injury, something that throws me off my quote unquote routine or
Right.
the stuff that I like to do, I'm grumpy, dude.
yeah,
Like if you have like an injury, like let's say I love squatting, right? Let's say
Right.
my hip hurts, or my knee starts to kind of get a little inflamed, or it takes me off my game for a couple of weeks, dude. I start getting a little
Cranky bear.
edgy.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's only 2 weeks. I know it's gonna go away. It's not an injury. It's just a little a tweak. I
Yeah.
know it's gonna go away. I know it's just give it time. Ice that bad boy for a little bit. Take a couple of Epsom salt baths. Slow down.
yeah.
It's life giving me the sign,
The
right?
nod.
The nod. Like, hey, buddy,
Yeah.
slow down,
Yeah.
or we're going to pop that knee, and then you're really going to have to slow down.
Right.
I feel like it doesn't go away as fast anymore, though.
I know,
Well, that's
yeah.
the mileage, right? I mean, we were talking. You and I were literally talking about that on the way over here. It's like it's not the years; it's the mileage. Like
It's
you
the
have a
mileage,
brand new
dude.
looking car that looks good. That's a high mileage
High
chassis.
mileage vehicle. I just
it's like
wax
this
it
thing
every now
work-
and then.
this-
It looks good.
Yeah, it looks great sitting still, but it runs like shit.
Oh, I tell everybody, man. When it's like, oh, how you? Because I pull 2 a days. I'm always trying
Right.
to work out. I'm always moving, right?
Yeah.
I'm always beating down the meat suit, right? So, and people are like, dude, you look awesome. You must, do you feel great all the time? It's like, no, man. The secret to this is just it hurts
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
It's like waking up with a hangover. You just keep drinking.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you fix a hangover.
Yeah.
You keep drinking. Like same thing. Like if
Just
I'm
keep going until you get to the next
Yeah,
one.
if I'm sore today, I'm gonna go back to the gym.
Yeah.
Because if I slow down for like 3 days and I let the soreness
Right.
go away, I'm not getting out of bed.
Yeah.
Like shit hurts,
Yeah, it
man.
just hurts and you don't wanna move.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
awesome. I love it, but it's obviously an addiction at this point, and it's a lot of my therapy, quote unquote. But
Right.
at the same time, it comes with a cost.
Yeah, and-
But I'm willing to pay the cost because I'm getting more out of those deposits.
Yes.
Like the inflation of each deposit is very high. So I'll pay that rent every day.
Right.
Twice a day. But I know there's a constant pain, like Apollo said. Like it hurts more now than it did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know 10 years from now it's going to hurt more than it does today. I'm not looking forward to that. But, hey, man, I'll cross that bridge when it comes, and I'll be ready for it, right?
What's the alternative, though? You
There's
know?
no, exactly. The
Well, that's
alternative
right. The
is-
alternative's worse.
is what?
Yeah.
Sedentary life?
Yeah.
Stop, get fat?
Yeah.
Just accept diabetes because I got a sweet tooth?
You're gonna hurt
what's
no
gonna
matter
happen?
what.
It's gonna hurt. It's just gonna hurt in a different way.
Exactly. Choose
Yeah.
your hurt, right? Choose the
Yeah.
pain you're willing to feel. You got to make that choice, make that choice daily, right? But the moment like that pain, that constant soreness becomes something that debilitates me from training, it's immediately I'm grumpy and I start
Yeah.
questioning everything.
Well, and that's the thing, right? It's where it's hard to be truly self-reflective because you've got a filter immediately. It's you are your filter.
Yep.
It's right. It's like I didn't get through, from age 17 to 36 with smashed up, crushed up. And I got, there's NFL guys talk about this all the time too. It's like, it's not that you went from stage 1 to stage 10. You went from 1 to 2 to 3 of
yeah.
adaptation, and just you start living with it. And doctors will look at you and be like, "How the fuck are you moving? How are
Yep.
you doing anything? How are you functioning?" It's like, "Well, because I'm stubborn as shit." But then you just start to adapt to it. But what's adapting is a lot of times your emotional state and your mental state, and it's not always positive. Yeah, you're getting through stuff and you can perform. And you can
Yeah.
do some extraordinary things, right? It's like, I was 25 pounds heavier pre-knee replacement. And it wasn't fat. I was just bigger. I could lift more. I could do a lot of things. Yeah, well, try to to be jacked. But it's like, but there was no fucking way I was running a sub 7 2K with that. It's like you gotta adapt
Yeah.
and change to what your new circumstance is.
Yeah.
But the problem is, without anybody there to kind of check and balance you, it's like, hey, maybe you should look at doing something a little bit different so that you don't go all the way to the wheels are falling off and you're now out 6 months because you had, you 3 ligament tears.
Yeah, you just kept hammering the same
Right.
nail on the head, and then
Right.
that nail's been bent for the past
because
10
you're
years.
doing this and
Yeah.
trying to keep
Just
going.
fix me up so I can get back to doing what I want to do.
Right, and
Like,
I
no,
I
man,
look
switch
at like
things up.
you guys with the adaptation in the field with the fire department, the mental health side. It's like, right, we're not just sticking our fingers in our ears and pretending the shit
Yep.
isn't here. We're trying to adapt. Some of it is going well. Some of it is a little bit slower than I'm sure both of you would probably like to see.
Yeah.
But translating over to the private side of your life too, you know, you're a better husband, you know, because you identified that with yourself, you know, and
Yeah,
you realized, hey, I'm wearing out, and maybe the thing that I'm doing that's wearing me out is having an echo effect somewhere, or a ripple. You know, I threw the rock over here, but the
The echo is somewhere
the
else,
echoes
bleeding
yeah,
over to
it's you know
all
that
others.
that ripple hits both shorelines, not just the one I'm standing on. You know, the other one was your wife's, you know, or maybe your parents, you know, whatever other relationships you had, and it's just it's always fascinating me how people get to where they're at, but then how do you know if how do you stop? You know, do you keep going, or do you just like, hey, I'm perfect, this is good, we're good, you know? And the thing that, you know, obviously with you guys, neither of you ever satisfied. You know, happy. You know, you're happy with where you're at.
Absolutely.
But doesn't mean you're satisfied. It's constantly going for, I want to do better. You know,
Right.
and
There's that constant self-talk for me is what are you doing to improve yourself or set yourself up for success tomorrow?
Yeah.
And don't be lazy
Yep.
and just get out there and do it.
Yep.
And it's a constant battle for me.
Yeah.
to-
100%.
to make that decision or choice.
Same.
But I don't know how much bandwidth I dedicate to that instead of just actually getting up and doing
Right.
it. Right.
Yeah.
So
well, and sometimes I'm sure it ebbs and flows. I mean, sometimes you're probably really spot on with certain components of it, and other stuff has to go to the wayside because you only got 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, you got work, and you got X and Y and Z, and
Yeah.
you just can't do everything all the time.
Yeah.
That was the biggest change for me, was to stop trying to do everything all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, again, do the things I like as much as I can, but be good at the things that I have to be good at.
Right.
And that's, you know, it's whether it's, I mean, I'm sure there's certain things in your guys' day jobs, and, you know, even lifting. You and I joke about this all the time because we fucking hate chest workouts, but it's like, I don't want to do it ever,
Gotta
but I
do
do it all, you know, on the consistency because
Yeah.
I need to be good at it.
Exactly.
You know, it needs to balance everything else out that I do like to do,
Yeah.
like pulling things.
Exactly. So for me, it's like and I think that drives me to what I do. That drove me to what I do today. And I don't know if Paul or yourself can. I know you can, maybe Paul, but I'm a very task-driven individual, and I need structure. I can't. For me, it's very hard to wing things. To have a day that I wake up, oh my God, birds are chirping, sun is shining. What am I gonna do today? No, I have a list ready.
Yeah.
I have
Making
a,
lists,
Yeah, I
yeah.
have a list that is ready. I have it dialed in for my day, not hour to hour, but like I have tasks.
Yeah.
That got accomplished that day, whether it's at work or my private life or at home when I'm on my 2, 3, 5 days off. I got things I got accomplished that day, right? And I go through priorities on that list. And then there's a certain priority list that I go through. I need to get these things done.
Right.
And once I get these things done, I got the extra, throwaways that I would like to get done, right? And if I get those done, dude, that's an ice cream at the end of the night, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm treating myself.
So I need to get better about making lists again and
Dude, make it
getting
like
stuff done
Yeah.
earlier in the day, and instead of waiting until the last minute to.
Yep.
to get
Just
out
think of
there
it as a
and try and get it
prolonged
done.
warm up.
And it's what Paul
Yeah.
was saying as far as like, I got to get up at a certain amount of, I got to get up at a time, and I got to force myself to move.
Yeah.
Because I know if I don't, if I snooze my life away for another hour, I'm going to sacrifice things that I need to get done, that
Right.
I hold myself accountable to get done the night before or the day before. I put that shit down on the list.
Yeah.
And if I wrote it down, man, I'm getting that shit done. Because I'm putting that down. I'm making it real.
Make list.
Make
item one, make list. Yes.
Yes. Step 2. Treat yourself.
Step 2. He said, make a list. Step 2, ice cream. Okay.
Jack, what an awesome day. I'm
Yay,
done
I'm-
before 10 a.m.
I'm winning.
So those things are huge for me. And I obviously take a lot of information from very driven minded individuals too, like Jocko, and you're fucking go. But so
He's a robot, by the way.
I do take a lot of information from those people, right? I do take a lot of not motivation, but the discipline itself from them,
Right.
right? I gotta hold myself accountable to getting up at a certain time. I don't want to, but I will.
Right.
I don't want to do this thing, but I will, because I know it's not just the cookie jar. There's an end goal to this that is gonna improve in myself, in the week ahead of time or the years ahead of time. Same thing with working out, training. Like I can't just come in and like wing things on the board. Like I follow a program.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
I have to.
there's-
I know I'm not good at it, so
I'm
I
not
have to
good
give
at it.
myself crutches.
Yeah, and exactly.
So getting up and coming to the gym in the morning is a lot easier to do when you're coming to a class.
Exactly.
And you're going to see people.
And
so
there's
come
a
in and do it
program
on your
right there
own.
for you.
It's hard.
It's
I
tough.
know
It's
if I
I'm
run my
sick for another
programs,
hour.
man, it's gonna come right down to squats and curls
At the same time.
at the same time. I'll
Yeah.
figure it out. Right?
All of them in the squat
safety
rack.
bar. So I know I need to hold myself to a program that is gonna have shit in there that I don't want to do,
Right.
that I don't like to do, and that I'm not good at.
Yeah.
Right. And I follow the guys from Power Athlete.
Right.
Been with them for a while. These are strength and conditioning guys that have a huge background of training athletes. Right. So I'm like, I'm gonna go with these dudes because they're gonna hold me accountable.
Right.
I'm gonna read the program. I'm gonna take their information in, and I trust them, and I'm gonna be accountable to it. So for me, that's a huge thing to have that very driven personality and like task oriented. But then at the same time, the dichotomy of that, the other end of the spectrum is the other information that I got to take in that is softer, right? That evens that out.
Yeah.
That is like the yin and yang of that. It's like, I'll listen to a Renee Brown podcast. I'll
Yeah.
listen to stuff that is like very much like vulnerability and open yourself up and talk things out. And that comes to all the stuff that we talked before about, I put myself out there. I'll show you the video of me deadlifting 500 pounds for 5.
Right.
That's my program. That's a task oriented. But right below that is the very open Leo. Like,
Yeah.
hey, this was my therapy because I needed this. I've been going through a real fucked up week
Yeah.
of a lot of loss. And I got that number because I grinded through a lot of mental
Right.
fortitude on a lot of stuff that I went through this week and blah, 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 blah. And I'll put myself vulnerable out there. So
Right.
there's like the yin and the yang.
And didn't quit.
Exactly. And the
Yeah.
spectrum of like information that I'm taking in and putting out.
Yeah.
Right?
Balance.
Balance. And dude, I didn't have that before for the longest time. I was always like, hammer. I open up my toolbox, hammer.
Hammer.
Awesome. Open up it again, duct
Hammer.
tape. Yeah. Put the duct tape on the thing you hammered. So I have 2 tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
And everything looks like a nail.
Everything looks like a nail.
Yeah.
So that was the only tool I had. And eventually, man, just, hey, let me use your tools. Let me put it in my toolbox. Hey, Paul, what tools do you have? Can I borrow this? I might
Yeah.
use it someday. Or no, maybe not. And just taking information from, the task-oriented individuals, like the guys that are hammers to all
Right.
the time. But then I'll take the nails sometimes, and I'll take the softer, the flowers, the things that are different for me to operate and just process information, just
Yeah.
show up better, right? Be better.
I'd be curious. You guys are more knowledgeable in the science of fitness and the different programs, this, that, and the other. I dabble a little bit, but
Yeah.
it seems like kind of what it's come down to ultimately is finding something that works for you and being consistent at it.
100%. It's just like dieting,
You're
man.
talking about different
Yeah.
tools. It's like
Yeah.
finding the right round hole or square peg to fit into and then just sticking with that
Uh-huh.
as opposed to the next fad, the greatest thing.
Yeah.
And
Next
that's
fix.
kind of
Yeah, or the new what's next, right? Like,
Right.
this is the cool thing. I'm gonna jump on that tree branch now, and then
Yeah. Before
you spend a
Peloton, there was Nordic Track.
You
Before
spend a
Nordic
little
Track,
bit of time
Right.
here, and there's
Yep.
like, ooh, look at that new shiny object. I'm gonna jump
Right.
on that one and jump on that one. It's just like dieting, man. The diet that works is the one that you stick with.
Right.
That's the one that is gonna work. Same thing with fitness. Like,
Yeah.
find a program, stick with it. Give yourself time for adaptation, for your body to adapt and respond to it, right? Play with that for
Yeah.
a long time. Don't just jump on it. Oh, this gym seems cool. I'm gonna do this CrossFit here for 3 months, and because I found a Groupon, and next thing you know, I'm gonna jump on that other
Right.
one over there, and then
Yep.
that other one. Fitness is fitness. I'm just working out. Working out is working out. No, it's not.
No.
it's not. Because if you jump on, for example, if you come to Forge, Jake, you have an year-long program for every class that comes in here.
Right.
From the kids training program, from the teenagers, from the little athletes, from the adults. It's a whole year of brainstorm, of dedication that went into that program. And you want to see your guinea pigs go through that year instead of just being here for 3 months and jumping ship. Because
Right.
fuck, you're not getting what you would get staying here, sticking with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because my plan, the payoff is a year from now.
Yeah.
Right? It's not 3 months because you want to go work out at whatever,
Yeah, and
Jimbo
that's-
Joe gym.
And
well, the I've seen examples of it in my life where
Yeah.
it's like the too good to be true that some people actually somehow seem to make work.
Yeah.
For me, that's never been the case.
Right.
And consistency one, and then hard work.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any substitute for that.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Occasionally, maybe that works for somebody.
Yeah, you got
but-
people with amazing
To a point,
genetics,
though.
right? But
I mean, to a
Right.
point, if you're not willing to work hard, I mean, it is the
But it
cliched
goes-
saying, but
if it
hard work beats
sounds too-
talent when
if
talent
talent
doesn't work hard.
yeah.
But it's a cliche for a reason. It's because
Yeah.
it's true.
Right.
You still got to work hard.
dude, I was never athletically inclined. I always liked moving, but I didn't grow up in sports.
Yeah.
I didn't find fitness until quite an older age. I was always fit and athletic. I grew up skateboarding and BMXing and jiu-jitsuing. So, yeah, you're always moving around,
Right.
banging your body up, always jumping, very athletic movements, right?
Right.
Skateboarding, freestyle, BMXing. So, you're an athlete because of what you're doing. I did it hours at a time. So,
Yeah.
I had a very strong base. But I didn't put my hands on a barbell until I found CrossFit and started to drink the
Right.
Kool-Aid. So I found fitness very old. I found fitness when I was, 26, 27? That I found, and I went full dedication on it.
Structured fitness, yeah.
Structured fitness. Yeah, I broed out a little bit at the
Sure.
gym, do a couple of pump sessions, but nothing really right? Nothing really structured. But then when I found it, I went full on, and I had such a strong base that he helped me
Right.
move past it. But I was never athletically inclined towards the aspect of strength and conditioning and fitness. But once I found it, my work ethics and just the fact that I'm a workhorse, dude, now if I love this thing, it's
Yeah.
2-a-days.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna swim, I'm gonna run, I'm gonna jump, I'm gonna lift, if I do it in the morning, I'll do it at night. The more the better. So I went full in, just goddamn, double dipping, everything, all in, right? So that created kind of what I have today, which I'm pretty happy and satisfied with, being 36, a little bit older, and still being able to hang with the young guns.
Oh, crush them. Yeah.
Right? It's because I just created just that work hard mentality.
Yeah.
Right? I just got myself in a program, and bro, let's go. It's 100 miles an hour. Right? I never had the genetics. I don't have the base of genetics that are natural at it. Right? I never had the talent. I got skills, but I've never been a natural at it. I had
Right.
to work on things.
Well,
right. But
that's why if it comes easy, generally speaking,
Don't
if it comes
appreciate
easy,
it,
you don't
right?
appreciate it. You don't
Yeah.
work as hard towards it.
Yeah.
So your ceiling's always going to be lower than the guy that maybe. Okay, again, but look at Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
They keep showing that damn combine video all the
love
time,
it.
but it's
Yeah.
the best thing ever. 'Cause
His
it's like,
stats.
oh my god, you're like, who got lost? Like, who let him in here? But then
Yeah.
it's like, oh crap, because the guy grinds,
Man. It's a work.
crushes. Drew Brees, another one too, right?
Yeah.
It's just like just because football right now, but that mindset is something that you talk about the kids and people coming in or looking for fitness or looking for nutrition. It's like it's not any one thing's going to be the answer, but you have to dedicate yourself
Gotta
to
stick
finding
with
the
it.
answer and finding your answer, right?
Yeah.
I know you're on the vertical diet right
Yeah,
now,
I've
right?
been on it for a
and you've
good
been on
amount
that
of
for a
time,
while,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And,
I've been about almost 2 years.
Paul, you and I talk a lot about intermittent fasting and things like that.
Yeah.
Stuff
Yeah.
doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent.
Exactly.
And anything that's too extreme, like one thing only at the expense of other stuff, probably isn't sustainable.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and I extrapolate that to balance in life in general and the whole year. Is I'm usually pretty good with diet and exercise for 4 to 5 months out of the year.
Yeah.
In the winter in Oregon when there's nothing else to do. 'Cause
Right.
It's miserable outside. But then the summertime comes around and
The party.
Yeah, we're outside, we're camping, you're
Right.
eating hot dogs, you're drinking beers. It's it's probably not the best for you,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it's balance for me.
It's balance. If you follow a program, whether it's fitness or dieting or whatever program you follow, right? Or for you name it, you can afford to quote unquote cheat
Yeah, because it's not cheating.
because it's not cheating.
Yeah.
It's I eat so well that I can afford to have a pint of Talenti if I want
Right.
tonight. I can afford to go out tomorrow on a date and pound down a boat of sushi.
Right.
And I won't feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
Because I have a structure that is just
Right.
I'm not going off my path.
Right.
There's just a little, it's almost like I treat myself. Same thing with, I follow a very strict fitness program, right? That has directed orders for me to follow on each given day.
Right.
Once I accomplish those orders, those tasks, guess what? It's fucking pump session, bro.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm gonna treat myself, right? That's my ice cream.
Cafes and
Yeah.
curls. Let's
I'm gonna
go.
afford myself to give myself, a nice little some curls. I'm gonna do some abs. I'm gonna do a mat cone if I want to. I'm gonna just
Right.
it's fuckery time.
Right.
Right. Because I'm following that program very
Right.
strictly. Right. So I can afford to give myself a treat at the end.
And and then you get the foundation and the basis, and then the rest of it. I kind of look at it as, or the analogy I've always used is, fuel for a fire or a car, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm going to put gas in the tank because I got to be able to go. I got to be able to travel. But if I put ethanol in there, it's still going to burn.
Still gonna burn.
Is it going to be as...
It knows what to do.
It knows what to do.
It knows it's temporary. It knows,
yes.
like, this is just
Yep. Right.
just a little.
Yep.
I need this for right now, and
Yep.
then we're gonna go back on track. In a
Yeah,
little
or
while.
flip side,
Exactly.
the old Fast and Furious, hit the NOS, it's like, right, you hit the NOS, and you go faster, and you do some cool shit, in slow motion, but then you run out, and then it's just back to regular
Back to
gasoline, and it's
consistency,
like,
back to-
right, the car still runs, and as long as you don't just try to run on NOS all the time,
Exactly.
or the opposite
Or the
side, of,
ethanol all the
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like
You're not gonna
you
break
can
it.
do a lot of things. That's why it's so hard to get people who are not in this lifestyle, because it is a lifestyle,
Oh,
to
absolutely.
understand, like, hey, dude, the diet you pick, especially with the firefighters, right? And I remember the last in-service kind of we did, the questions are always the same. Might be from different people, but it's kind of the same questions. Like, well, if I eat this and this and this, it's like, or I'm on this diet, or I'm on this, it's like, I'm doing this thing right now for the next 8 weeks. Why? I'm doing this cleanse. Why? It's
Why?
like,
If
because
it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like the,
my-
the
my-
30-minute
That's why I always
abs.
remind
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Your
yeah.
30-minute
Yeah.
abs. It's
Yeah.
like,
we could do
yeah,
it
8 minute
at
abs.
6.
What if they come out with
It's your
7 minute abs?
P90X.
What?
Yeah.
P90X. Oh my god.
P90X, dude. In 3 months, you're gonna have the best shape of your life. Forget about the 35 years of fuckery you had, before. 3 months, and you're gonna be dialed in.
Right.
I would, and maybe not give people this much credit, but I would think in general, most people, and what would work for most people is you know what food is garbage for you.
Yeah. If
You
you're
know
eating
what
like an
food is
asshole,
good for
you're
you.
going to
Yeah.
get that kind of result.
Right.
But that's the thing. It's like everything, and maybe it ties into just social culture and everything. It has to be one extreme or the other. It has to be either a cleanse and a juice cleanse and a a goop diet or whatever that shit is,
Yeah.
or the opposite side of just like, I'm not going to do anything,
Pizza
and I
and
just
ice cream, yeah.
right, pizza and ice cream all the time, and it's just hyper gluttonous, right? And it's like that doesn't work either.
Right.
So what's some of it is just keep it simple, stupid. I mean, I know I've talked with a lot of the guys, because fire service, you're on shift. How you eat at the house a lot of times is different than how you eat at home.
Oh, yeah.
And guys, get all spun up about that. It's like, well, if I'm in a micro, meal plan, and all this, I got 8 meals a day. I can't do that at the house. I'm like, then pick a different system that you can sustain. PD is the same deal, especially on 12-hour shifts. It'd be like, well, what am I going to eat? It's like, for me, the intermittent fasting is a great structure, right? Because you pick a window.
Yeah.
You shove calories in your face in that window, and when that window closes, you don't shove any more calories in your face, and you can maintain that. If you have to go to work, the house or
about the
whatever,
donuts?
the donuts.
You gotta fit
that
those in.
goes.
Does those
Donuts.
count?
Donuts are right there with calf raises and bicep curls. Did you do your deadlifts? Did you do your bench? Did you do
Okay.
your bases? Yes. Okay, then shove a donut in. I tell the kids that all the time. The athletes,
Yep.
like, hey, look, I don't give a shit if you go to Burgerville. I don't care if you have a milkshake, but eat your bases first. Did you have
Yeah.
breakfast? Yes. What'd you have? Okay, cool. If you hit your minimums,
Yeah.
anything extra, you're going to burn through it anyways.
True.
But anything extra, great, awesome. It's extra credit, right?
Yeah.
It's like your curls and your calf raises. It's like, I got my deadlifts in, I can go do some calf raises.
It's a
you know.
cake.
So
cake
it's
at the
it's
end.
just find the structure that is sustainable. I know the carnivore diet and all the the different ones, or the flip side, was that the Game Changers documentary where then
Yeah,
everybody's
vegetarian.
eating vegetarian 24/7. It's like,
Wow, that's so
Yeah, but then it got
frustrating.
debunked like within like a few months after, right? But
because none of it's neutral.
But picture this.
But then it got rebunked because in our society, especially I feel like in the United States, the loudest, most boisterous, obnoxious voice in the room
Correct.
Exactly.
is the winner.
It-
Whether or
right.
not it comes back that it's false and fact checked
Is
later
irrelevant.
on is irrelevant because you're hitting headlines anymore.
Yeah.
But imagine
That's all you're-
how many
you're
people, the
watching.
moment that came out, the moment they watched, that came out on Netflix, right, that week,
Right.
the moment they watched it, how many people across the country immediately switched their dietary
Instantly, 'cause it was the answer.
Exactly. Oh my God, I have this eureka epiphany moment, right? Like everything's got to change now, and I'm immediately cold turkey, stop eating meat, and I'm like this goddamn.
you mean cold carrot because you can't have meat.
Right, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Cold Beyond Burger. So the moment that came out, they switched like to
Right.
their intake, how they view food, and how they take food
Yep.
in. Right.
Yeah.
Whether because that means they
And they're
just
like, I
weren't-
feel better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you're not eating like a trash pan.
Yeah.
anymore.
Exactly. The Taco Bell and McD's
Yeah.
is not your part of your breakfast, lunch, and dinner anymore. Right, but that's because a lot of people don't follow that structure. They don't have the education necessary to follow structure. Like life for if you're
Well, and that's why I say I would think most people get it, but at the same time, that there are places in the United States that are food deserts, right?
yeah,
Oh, for sure.
for sure,
But
yeah.
they don't have a grocery store. To
They
go
don't.
To. They don't
They
know
don't have the access to whole ingredients
I worked
and
with
to
a guy-
good meals. Yeah, stuff.
That's in his 50s that didn't know you were supposed to drink water.
What do you
on a
drink?
daily
Coffee,
basis.
Coke, and whiskey?
Coffee and energy drinks.
Coffee, Coke, and whiskey.
All together in the same.
All together the same, yeah.
50 years old and just realizing that you're supposed to drink water.
Well,
Jesus
and that's
Christ.
where I don't. It's hard to say I have compassion for them. I have compassion for kids that don't know better because kids aren't
Right.
independently mobile to where they really have the worldly experience to know to go out and seek information to find the answers that are appropriate for them. I don't want to say correct because sometimes it's that, different things work for you that are going to work for me just because our
As in general, yeah, with
right,
everything.
we're genetically a little bit different. You're Brazilian. I'm not. I'm a mutt.
I'm all ass.
Just go, all lower hemisphere.
Below the belt.
But the kids don't really have that. They're victims of the circumstance to which they're born into, and so it's like what they know is what they've been shown, specifically for the most part in their house. They might not know. A 50-something-year-old adult who operates, especially in the United States, bro, I got no fucking sympathy for you.
Yeah.
You should know better. You've chosen to put your head in the sand and not be accountable to yourself. There's no rhyme or reason why you can't go seek that out. All the information. This is the beauty of the internet, minus social media negativity. You can learn anything about everything.
Yeah.
You can become an expert in
Dude, YouTube
anything.
University is a real thing.
Oh, it is.
You can learn anything on YouTube and Google.
And with the fitness and the nutrition side, you can get both sides. You can get super extreme, but
Right.
the more education you intake, the more information you intake, whether it's biased or not. I mean, I go look at stuff I don't agree with and I know is totally full of shit, but I like to know what they're thinking
Yeah.
so that I can at least understand it, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
like, oh, okay, so now I get what they're thinking. That's cool. I mean, it's cool for them. If somebody wants to be vegan, that's awesome. I've got a friend of ours who's no animal, anything with a nervous system they can't eat, right? And it's not physiochemical. It's an emotional thing. It's right. It's mental. Sure. And it's fascinating to me. Dude, I'm like, give me a cow burger, like steak, right? I'm totally fine with that, but I understand where they're coming from. And it did cause me to think about, a few things like, well, maybe do I really want pork? Because, pigs, I guess, are pretty emotional. It's like, but it's like I get where they're coming from. But they're not also forcing it on me or saying it's the answer. It's just the answer for them,
Right.
and it's like, and it works for them. It doesn't work for me. I go to, the funniest thing in the world was walking into the supermarket with Gabby when she was like 3. And she'd be like, Dad, what's that? I'm like, cow. What does that look like when we cook it? It's your burger, honey. Oh, okay. So she associates cow with what's in the thing. So she
Yeah.
sees the cute cow, of course, when she's 3, and she's like, well, but we eat cows, like that's not very. I'm like, well, we only eat the ugly cows. It's fine, the cute cows, but at least she associated like, okay, hey, there's this. And if she ever decided, hey, I don't want to do that anymore,
Yeah,
fine.
it's her
I don't-
choice.
That's fine. There's plenty of ways to get around that, But for a 53 or whatever year old guy to
Yeah.
say, I didn't know I should have water, it's like, okay, really, like
I don't
that's
find
zero
compassion
sympathy,
for that
yeah.
person, but at the same time,
You're just at all.
being able to put yourself in other people's shoes
Yes.
is very important, and realizing that we're probably fairly, at least I was fairly privileged in my upbringing to, I can't put myself in other people's shoes and understand what experiences they've had, and
Right.
why they think chocolate milk comes from a brown cow and that Coke is what you drink for dinner, and
Right.
that McDonald's is,
one of the
that's-
4 food groups.
yeah, where do you get? Where's a chicken breast come from? Oh, the supermarket.
McNugget. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I find that that's just it's an interesting side of this because there's people hopefully that would listen to this and be like, oh yeah, well that's me. They think I'm an asshole. No, we don't think you're an asshole. It's just try and broaden your mind a little bit to
Right.
sticking to finding the thing that fits and works for you that's rational and
Yeah.
reasonable. You can't. I don't necessarily think that the carnivore diet's sustainable for everybody, but for some people, for sure it is. Or the flip side, I don't know that being a vegetarian is going to be sustainable for everybody because maybe you don't have the means and the access because of your upbringing. Okay, find what is rational and reasonable and sustainable, and your fitness is going to follow in suit because it's like, hey, I've got the fuel on my body that I need, that I can sustain this level of fuel, which means I can put out this workload, right? And then the backside of that is obviously, to Leo's end, the mental side. It's like, right, you have to commit to it and stay
Yep.
with it and stick with the program, and especially, I mean, I know the way you train because we talk about it all the time. the same way you and I try to train, is consistent and balanced, right? If I was left to my own devices, it'd be pulls and kettlebell swings and rowing all the time. But no, we do bench, we do press, we do anterior, posterior. It's like you got to balance everything, even if you don't like it.
Wouldn't be doing cardio on my own accord. That's
Oh,
for sure.
hell no.
You don't run.
No. And pre-COVID, we'd be doing relays
Yeah.
and interval relays because I hate cardio, you hate cardio, but if we hate it together, we can have fun hating the thing together.
Yeah.
And, it's like
pain shared.
a pain shared. It's a shared
exactly.
experience. But I do think that's something that gets missed a lot when people are looking for their health answer, and their fitness answer, and not the extreme end of like your guys' customers where they're in crisis. Like that's probably too late
different.
to.
That's very acute, right? You're talking about an acute thing, right?
And something
But-
that's 20 years or 10 years or 5 years of build up to that individual point. But after
Right.
that point, then what?
Then what?
Right? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do tomorrow? You're
Right.
going to make a list. Cool, make a list. Check that off. Right now, what's on the list? Maybe
Yeah.
don't do 10 things. My wife's really good at lists. I'm terrible at it because I'm just not a write it down kind of person. But if I do have set tasks, I try to do things to where it's like I know I can get this done.
Yeah.
And not put down 20 things and then feel like I failed because I only got 18 of them.
I just have so much in my head, dude. Like I have so many plans and tasks that I think of doing.
Right.
That if I don't
Yeah.
put them down on a list, like they come and go, and I remember them 2 months from now. I'm like, damn, I should
Yeah.
have done this 2 months ago. So I got to put it down on a list
Yeah.
and keep it on the back burner and always revisit it. Keep adding and keep removing. Right, keep adding the things that I keep thinking of and keep removing the things I've done. But I need to have an actual list, and
Yeah.
I need to prioritize that
What's
list.
interesting for me with lists is I don't know that it always helps me get things done.
Yeah.
But what it does is it takes that burden off my back
To have
because
to
I'm
remember?
constantly thinking and worrying about it and stressing
Right.
out about it, and it puts it onto paper.
True.
And it just helps me that way.
Yeah.
Even though I know I might not get to.
Yeah.
I'm
I just
probably
hate-
not going to
yeah.
get below the first couple things
Same thing.
on that
Yeah.
list, but I find myself doing them when I get overburdened or stressed
Yeah,
out.
same.
Yeah.
More
Like
or less.
putting thought to paper to me is a big deal. Like journaling and like making lists. Like it might sound a little kind of like OCD on that aspect, but it goes a long way because I don't like the fact that if I think of something right now, I'm gonna have 20 more thoughts within the
Right.
course of this conversation that I'm gonna forget.
Yeah.
That little one thing, and it can be something as dumb. As dumb as like whatever, like clean my truck.
But it's a win.
But it's a win.
Yeah.
Because if I put it down and I get it done,
Yeah.
it's like the little, got it.
Yeah.
Check,
Right.
check. That little check at the end is like, ooh, nice.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
an analog dopamine
Yeah,
hit.
it feels good. Exactly. It's the little binary system, right? One.
One.
Yeah, I
not
want to
zero.
have zeros. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to have a zero. I want to have a one. Check. Done. So for me, it's a big deal. And I think, we've been going at it for quite a amount of time here, but just the ultimate like kind of topic that we have here, I think the overall kind of theme was overall health, right? Physical health, mental health, gut health, whatever it is that we find, like relationship health, is find what works for you that holds you accountable to work on yourself first. Get yourself in check.
Right.
Before worrying about anything or anybody else around you. Find what works for you and stick to a program. Find something that forces you to work on yourself
Yeah.
and stick with it, right? I found that hiking is a big deal for me. I stuck with it.
Yeah.
And I kept doing it this year. It works wonder. Guess what I'm going to be doing next year?
More hiking.
More hiking. I have a goal.
Do you build things into that structure to hold yourself accountable to force that? And
I have
the
a list.
simplest example that I can think of that is like if I go grocery shopping or something before work, and I'm supposed to, I got to remember to bring the groceries. I'll put my car keys in the fridge.
Yeah.
With the groceries, so it's a crutch for me because it forces me to have to go in there, grab those groceries. Very simple example, but building in a crutch or a system to facilitate you actually going and doing that activity.
100%. So for me, like for that activity in particular,
I'm
hiking.
doing 30 on 30.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I put myself on a goal.
30.
I'm
Yeah.
putting,
30
I'm
and
putting it
yeah.
out there.
I put it out
on
there.
social media.
Exactly.
I'm putting it on a list.
Hey, I'm putting a list.
It was
I
30
need to-
hikes in 1 year.
30
right?
hikes this year. 30 like cool hikes.
Like, yeah.
Not just like I said, not just like a little walk in the park and like, oh, check.
Not
no.
hiking to new seasons.
No, this is like a quick little adventure.
Right.
Right. I need to take a day to do this. Like this is like I'm gonna go drive 3 hours, 2 hours. Gonna get in the backcountry. Like my truck is gonna be put to the test to get to even the trailhead.
Yeah.
And then the work starts.
Yeah.
And so I'm putting myself 30 hikes. Check, like 2 weeks ago, got that done, right? I already have a goal for next year, 40 hikes.
Well, that's funny
And
because it sounds like a lot, but then you think about it, it's like that's not even 10% of the days in a year.
No, it's
It's
not.
not
But,
really
but it's a whole day.
But it's a whole day.
It's a whole
Yeah.
day. I'm not just gonna go in the morning. Oh, all right, be back by lunch. No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave at 6 in the morning, get to the trailhead at 9. I'm gonna hike for 8 hours, and then probably don't get eaten or shoot a cougar out there, and make my way back to the truck. Yeah, and then next thing you know, I'm home eating a burger at 9 p.m. and hitting the sack, passing out. It's a whole day, but I know what I'm getting at the end of that day. I
Right.
know that routine that I found that works for me, and I stick with it. I'm gonna keep doing it. Same thing with my fitness program. I found
Yeah.
the Power Athlete guys. They work for me. I'm going to keep doing it. Nutrition, vertical diet, it works for me. I kept doing it. I'm going to keep on doing it.
Yeah.
So from every aspect of what we're talking about here is finding what works for you, for yourself alone. Work on you. Be better for yourself.
Because it works for you alone, it's going to work for you in
It's
the
going to
group.
work for everybody else
Yeah.
around you. You're going to show up better for everybody
Yeah.
else around you because you're going to be in peace with yourself between your ears.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I think, that's what I'm going to leave off with this year is that I have found within my life for the past, I guess, a couple of years now, physically and nutritional wise, and for the past 6 months, mental wise, what works for me. And I kept doing it. And man, I can't wait for whatever's in front of me to keep punching that time card in
Yeah.
every day and keep doing what works for me because I know I'm showing up better for myself in front of the mirror. When I look at myself in the mirror now, dude, I'm happy. Like man, like you're my fucking best friend,
That's
right?
That's fantastic.
That guy in the mirror.
Yeah.
And I'm selfish, but it works for me what I'm doing right now, and I know I'm showing up better. So just keep punching that time card day in, day out, and working on yourself because I'm showing up better for everybody else around me. And we'll have this conversation again at some point.
Yes. Love it.
Perfect.
Same with you.
I would say I'm a work in progress. More good days than bad,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. You ride, we got to get him certified to ride a motorcycle, but I always, I try to look at it, the same kind of thing, ride through the corner, right? It's like, I got to be aware of what I'm doing right now, right here in this moment in the corner, but my eyes are up down the road so that I know that I'm going the right direction and not get too caught up in the nuance to where I'm staring at the pavement and wreck.
Right.
That I can keep going, but at the same time not lose track of the little details, day in, day out, and just keep showing up consistently.
Yeah.
Being there. Again, and the ultimate goal being to be a better version of myself, so I'm a better version for everybody else.
That's awesome, Jake.
And do more of this. So
Ultimately contributing more than you gave or took.
that's the ultimate goal. Yes.
Right.
Give more than taking.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Round one in the books. Go, go Pete.
All right. Awesome.
Yay.
Dude, that's awesome.